what dastardly cries might perpetrate? Allow me to introduce myself. Who knows what dastardly cries might perpetrate next?
He's a very clever arch criminal who must be put away. Another innocent victim of suicidal maniac.
Star Report. I'm your host, Star. Welcome to the show. Saturday evening, No Limit destroys Cash Money in versus battle. That's what I saw. You may think different. Phone lines are open right now. It went down in Vegas earlier, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from beginning to end. Master P just had too much energy. It looked like he took a nap, a B12 shot, and a protein shake from beginning to end. From beginning to end. Birdman. I fuck with Birdman heavy, but he starts calling Turk all sorts of bitches at the end. Turk wasn't there, but it would not have mattered. I'm sorry. Lil Wayne was not there, but it would not have mattered. I'm sorry. Cash Money just seemed to be, I don't know, they were trying to be young, but they're not young. We love Juvenile, do we not? Good evening in the live chat. Juvie, it's my nigga. Met him a few times. Great guy. He's a real one. But he couldn't do it by himself. He could not do it by himself. Snoop Dogg came out at the end talking crazy as he was supposed to. I think the song selection of Cash Money just wasn't, it wasn't enough to really grab you. They did back that thing up way at the end. Way at the end. Good evening in the live chat. Guys, I was trying to get a small glass of wine. I'm coming off of the tail end of pneumonia, in case you don't know. And someone texted me and said, no, not yet. Slow down. Someone is reporting that shots have now taken place after the versus battle. Yes, no, maybe? I hope not. I hope they're not now shooting inside the venue or outside. Anybody from the South want to really break it down? Give us what you thought. I thought that No Limit paced themselves. Birdman started talking about halfway through the verses. I started this shit with the tattoos and the diamonds and the yada, yada, yada. And then Master P came right back and said, well, I started this. And then they went into bout about it. Game over. Game over. That's when they shut it down. That's when I got up on X. And then I started doing too much. Hey, thank you for your donations early, guys. We had a little technical difficulties. Hold on a second. Okay, this is what I want to hear. Someone says, No Limit just had a bunch of niggas on stage, plus Mia X. And it was fire. It was fire. And that's me saying that. Tonight was the night. We're in Vegas. Niggas showed out. Mia X looked like she wanted to slap the shit out of somebody. Yes, no, maybe. Guys, why wasn't Lil Wayne there? He has been quoted in the past saying he would only battle Rockefeller, and everybody else is beneath him. Yes, no, maybe. Nothing from Lil Wayne. He didn't even send some type of a message on a video screen. Did I miss something? Did I miss something? Juvenile came to do what he did, and again, I salute him, but he could not do it by himself. Anybody want to talk about the selection of songs from No Limit? I thought that their energy from beginning to end was just right. They knew when to slow it down, when to pick it back up. It was almost like they were counterpunching Cash Money, counterpunching them. Phone lines open right now. Also, guys, show runner. Hold on a second. Yesterday on First Take, I did not see it live. They did some type of 40-yard dash with some mascots. Cam Newton, NFL great, even though he's ringless, NFL great. He was running with the mascots. He's laughing. Ha, 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 ha. One of the mascots grabs his hat. Shit gets a little weird, and then Cam slaps fire, pow, out of the Alabama A&M mascot. Has a lawsuit been discussed yet? Cam slapped the shit out of the mascot. Yes, and Mystical's still locked up. Yeah, so we shouldn't have expected him. Mystical, yeah. Okay, all right. Phone lines open, late night edition. Tanisha, I got your donation. Thank you very much. Firestarter got your donation. Okay. Hey, is Houston out there? I want to talk to somebody from the
Podcaster and hip-hop executive Wack 100 is usually the one breaking down other people's drama, but this time, he's the headline. Media Takeout has obtained documents suggesting that Wack 100 and his wife, the stunning Kimberly Jones, are headed for divorce. Kimberly, a motivational coach and successful real estate entrepreneur, allegedly filed legal paperwork to end their marriage in California. News of the rumored split hit social media yesterday after a popular blogger posted what appear to be official California divorce filings. The documents, which list Wack 100's legal name, Cash Jones, reportedly show that Kimberly filed to dissolve the marriage earlier this year. According to the filing, the couple has no minor children, and their date of separation is listed as May 2025. The paperwork also notes that Kimberly is represented by Randy Cooper, a well-known Los Angeles divorce attorney famous for securing major financial settlements for her clients. Social media immediately lit up with speculation about what might have led to the split and what it could cost Wack in the long run. The blogger who leaked the filing claimed that Kimberly plans to get every penny she's entitled to, and maybe even a little bit more. Wack 100, who's managed artists like The Game and Blueface, is no stranger to controversy. Known for his blunt takes, viral arguments, and high-profile podcast appearances, he's built a reputation for calling out rappers, executives, and even fellow industry insiders. But his outspoken style has also made him one of hip-hop's most polarizing figures. And now, for the first time, it's his personal life that's becoming public drama. Kimberly, on the other hand, has built a reputation far outside the entertainment world. She's known for her motivational speaking, real estate empire, and image as a poised, business-minded woman who's kept herself largely out of the spotlight, until now. Fans online were quick to point out how unusual it is for Kimberly to be part of public gossip. She's always been the classy one follower.
Mafia.
What?
Yes, the Mafia.
On October 23rd, 2025, in particular. Number one, Chauncey Billups, current Portland Trail Blazers head coach and NBA Hall of Famer, and he was arrested in Oregon. And Terry Rozier, current player for the Miami Heat, who was arrested in Orlando, Florida. And they both were arrested for gambling, but under two different circumstances. Let's first deal with Terry Rozier.
Take a listen. March 3rd, 2023, an NBA player, Terry Rozier, he told his friends and some confidants that he would check out of an NBA game early. As a result, they placed $200,000 worth of wagers on his under. Well, 9 minutes into the game, Terry Rozier left the game with an alleged injury. They won tens of thousands of dollars on that gambling bet, and they went back to his house to count the money. Damn.
In the case of Terry Rozier, he was playing for the Charlotte Hornets in 2023. As you heard, he told somebody that he would take himself out of the game, ensuring that his team would lose. Now, Terry Rozier is a pretty good player, and he scores a lot of points. So if he wasn't playing that game, he would understand that, hey, listen, my team wouldn't be able to be successful. After that, they would go to his house and count up $200,000 in winnings. That's the first charge. But then
an underground illegal poker ring. This involved several organized crime families associated with La Cosa Nostra. Basically, prosecutors allege the celebrity athletes were used to lure unsuspecting gamblers to these poker games where the mafia had modified card shuffling machines, barcoded the decks, had cameras built into the tables and light fixtures. The dealers were in on it. The athletes, they allege, made the games look legitimate. Prosecutors say one victim alone lost $1.8 million. But in total, this ring brought in tens of millions. And then when people refused to pay, prosecutors say the defendants did what organized crime always does, threaten violence.
Now, with Chauncey Billups, this is a whole and these games are poker tables, had the mob involved in. Basically, there were cameras around and, the games are rigged. People could see the hands that are being dealt. And these guys were losing a lot of money. And if they did not want to pay, well, you already know how the mob gets down, right? And then there's a testimony about it.
This must have been like 5 years ago, 2019-ish, I think, where there was this game. It started in LA and then it came to Vegas for a few days, and it was all built around Chauncey Billups. And the person who told me about it was like, look, I know the game runners. I'm telling you 100% this game is on the up and up. And I was like, well, I know a lot of the people that are involved, and I'm telling you 100% that it is not. I had some friends who went and played it both in LA and in Vegas, and it obviously like was for sure confirmed to be cheated. Like people who clearly didn't even understand the rules of No Limit Hold'em are just like jamming hundreds of big blinds in with like a gutty and then just drilling it. Only the pros are losing. It was, it was basically confirmed amongst all of the pros that the game was cheated, but there's just no recourse.
Gotcha.
And, they got absolutely flayed.
So basically, Chauncey Billups was setting up these guys to play at these tables. And if they didn't pay, they would get threatened, and they had no recourse. Like they were stuck with this loss. Now, gambling is something that happens in the NBA community. We understand in the sports community, people like Pete Rose, the legendary baseball player, he bet on sports while coaching for the Cincinnati Reds. And, people have bet, Michael Jordan has gambled, although not on games. And that is a difference. If you want to gamble, that's one thing. But betting on games is another. And that is why this is such a bad thing, especially with, the NBA already losing ratings and people feeling that it's all rigged. And then people are starting to make their opinions about it.
I'm ashamed that those guys would put their families and their careers in jeopardy. There's an old saying in the hood, all money ain't good money. So if you're making $9 million and you're dealing in certain things, like how much more do you need? Especially if you get caught, you can do jail time, lose your career.
Now, I understand what some people are going to say, because Shaquille O'Neal is basically saying, listen, I know Damon Jones, and he's one of the guys implicated in this. I know Chauncey Billups, and, all money ain't good money. And, you're already making a lot of money in the NBA, so you don't really need this money in what you're betting on. Now, some people are going to come against Shaq and say, hey, bro, why are you speaking out against these guys? That's not cool. They're guilty until proven innocent. But I believe that Shaquille O'Neal and many other guys understand that, yes, corruption in sports is there, and that guys are actively in this. And this is kind of what I want to deal with when it comes to greed. When you're in the NBA and you have the connections that these guys have, you don't really need to do any of this stuff. I mean, look at Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas is a great example. Gilbert Arenas was doing all of this gambling allegedly in, at his house, Gil's Arena, and doing the same things that these guys are talking about. The difference between Gilbert Arenas is that he wasn't doing it on NBA games, but he was doing it at his house. Podcast and get millions of dollars within a few months. Now, we're not saying that every NBA player can, leverage a podcast or something like that. But what we are saying is that NBA players do have opportunities. And we've seen so many guys such as Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, invest their money into business and leverage their opportunities to do more. This is what NBA players can do. But some NBA players don't take the opportunities to look at doing things the right way. And even when you have an opportunity to coach like Chauncey Billups, if this is true, you have the opportunity like Terry Rozier to play in the NBA. You're literally making millions of dollars a year, and you're willing to throw your millions of dollars a year career or your earnings away for $200,000 in cash, and then risk being kicked out of the league, risk being banned from the league. I mean, somebody like Chauncey Billups, you're in the NBA or basketball, rather, Hall of Fame. You're going to get kicked out of the Hall of Fame, and you'll never be able to come back around the game again. And I kind of want to talk about the kind of short-term thinking that some people have, especially in the Black community. And I see this not only with people that are just considered poor. And again, I'm living in Africa, so I see it all the time. But you see short-term thinking with people who have a lot of money. And you wouldn't think that that would be the case, but in actuality, it is the case. A lot of people who have money who have excessive wealth, they always think that because of what they have went through, that, you know what, if I don't get this money now, I'm not going to have it. And they can point to cases where they've had millions of dollars, brand deals, homes, jets. But because they are in that survivalist mentality all the time, they can't see opportunity. And you can't tell me if Chauncey Billups was guilty of this, that he didn't really see real opportunity in a merit-based world. He would be able to do, other things. But basically, if he's been on that survivalism mentality his entire life, it doesn't really matter that he has access. It doesn't really matter that he has money, because he's just surviving. And unfortunately, when you're surviving and you're greedy, you're not thinking about, what is to come in the future. You're willing to leverage your future for just a few bucks. And we already see that with some of our friends. Let me give you an example. How many of you guys have been in a friendship with somebody, and for whatever reason, everything is cool. Somebody wants to borrow $50, right? Something small. They borrowed the $50 from you. They say, I'm gonna pay you next week. Do they pay you next week? No, they don't pay you next week. They do everything but pay you next week. And you got to run around for your money. And then when you talk to them, they'll turn around. Man, it's only $50, bro. Why you bother me about it?
What?
But you asked me for the money and now you don't want to give it to me. Like, this kind of stuff happens all the time, right? And then, that person who you thought was cool, they have basically sold their ass for $50. And of course, it's not uncommon that that person will need help again. And you're just completely turned off from that person. And you know what? For just $50, you have bought them for the rest of their life. And so they can never get money from you anymore. You never take them seriously anymore. And that's it. So for $50, they've sold their ass. It's the same thing for these guys in the NBA. For $200,000, they've sold their behind. For their reputation, they've sold their behind. And then now you took that quick money and you're not even thinking about your future. And a lot of times when you get people who think about things in this manner, they don't think about their family. They don't think about their kids. They don't think about their future business partners. They don't feel like, oh, okay, well, I made a mistake and, now I'm sorry, but, I can't, remove that mistake. And that stain sticks on you for the rest of your life. And you made a mistake and you can't apologize for it because people are now done with you. You now become a person that can't be trustworthy. So I urge everybody, before you make a decision, and just because, that money is there, always remember what Shaq said. All money ain't good money. It's not worth ruining your name. Again, I'm a person that sees scams all the time in the Black community. People like Dr. Umar Johnson, and, they'll do anything they can to cash app it up and then get some money here or there. They're just thinking about tomorrow. Well, what happens over time? People just don't take you seriously and you ruin your reputation forever. And then that's that. And then once you ruin your reputation, you can never fully get it back. And instead of just being solid and just doing things the right way. Guys, these people, the feds, the COVID scammers, all those people, you're not going to beat them. Once they get you, the feds has like a 99 or 98%, conviction rate. You're done. And once they come to you and they arrest you, they have pounds of evidence. They got phone records. They got text messages. I mean, they have everything. And then once they have all of that, you're pretty much done. All right. And then the money that you made from your illicit dealings, if you would have did things the right way anyway, you would have made way more money in the illicit things. You see, you would have been so much better off by not doing that. You would have been rich anyway. Woo! Like, just think about the dude who sold drugs and he's in jail for like 15 years. If he wouldn't have sold the drugs, in 15 years, he would have found out how to make money legally and he would have made more money than the 15 years he did in drugs, which he only made once. And they still had to come back and then find a way to take that money from him because his ass was down bad. So, guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Dude Jackson, back at it again. It was another episode of The Celebrity Drunk.
The NBA RICO just hit. Some of our favorite NBA players just got arrested by the FBI.
Of New York at a press conference announcing indictments surrounding those allegations. All right, CNN's Kara Scannell is joining us now with the latest. What are you learning about this? This just came in just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, these arrests just happened. And of course, the Miami Heat guard, Terry Rozier, and Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, have been arrested. A third former NBA player is also charged. And what law enforcement officials tell us is that there are two separate schemes here. One involved a game rigging scheme. That's involved Terry Rozier. And he allegedly provided information about who was playing in games, who might be on the injury list, to some of the sports bettors that he was involved with. And he benefited himself financially.
When I first heard about this RICO this morning, the first thing that came to my mind was something I've been saying for years. And if you watch this channel, you know I've been saying this, man. And that's when it comes to certain niggas, some niggas is never enough. Enough is never enough. A nigga will have 100 baddies, certified Instagram doms, and still try to plot you out your Idaho 6. That's just how they operate, bruh. Nigga would have $100 million and still try to finesse you out of 8th. That's just the fact. Okay? All right. You pull up to the mansion, he got the Rolls Royce outside, Bugatti outside, and try to get the 8th delivered, and he will still try to short you another 5 just because. That's just how some niggas operate, bruh. Terry Rozier ain't no different. Terry Rozier is up $100 million. $100 million. And he's still illegally gambling for a couple $100,000. So apparently what Terry Rozier did, Terry Rozier was working with a group of guys. Apparently these were like mafiosos, mobsters, as well as some friends. He told them, hey, I'm going to leave this game early. Take the under. They all gambled on Terry Rozier's under, and they made a lot of money. They made so much money, they personally delivered $200,000 to Terry Rozier, and they counted it that night at his home.
First, I would like to talk about United States versus Ernest, the NBA basketball gambling case. The defendants in this case are Eric Ernest, Marvez Farley, Shane Hennon, DeNiro Laster, Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach, and Terry Rozier, a current NBA player. Other co-conspirators were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jonte Porter. Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated
games to make sure that those bets paid out.
supervillain Kazaa and Eddie Cuts on the Israelite side, and I have Crimsonite and Jody on the side of Garfield, that we are not the Israelites. So, guys, I will be calling you up shortly, but just hang out with us. On Yawasop, if you want to know the name that I have, the names I'll be getting in the future, just let me know, King. I have that list on paper.
So we're not letting anybody else on stage?
No. If they're coming up, so the thing is, once Garfield and Prince get done, then I'll have to move Prince back down to the audience, and we're gonna bring up the next brother. I'm trying to keep it clean for the replays, keep everything clean and just nice and just cordial. So we don't want too many brothers on stage doing emojis and making sounds and coming off mic.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that's all needed. I think the emojis. I think
you
the
think
sounds.
So? Why do you say that, King?
Because it makes the room better.
Okay.
You got the number one. You got Chat Lives Matter.
Opinion.
You got the president of Chat Lives Matter in the chat, man. Sister Zara, man. That's the president, man. So, you know.
well, look, y'all, what's up? The only thing with that is Garfield, me and Garfield agreed to having one at a time. But if you wanna
No, he's talking about the chat. As far as coming on stage, I think one at a time so people could hear the conversation, because some brothers don't have the patience, like myself, and they'll interrupt and try to jump in. So with Prince, I want to make sure if Prince is having a conversation with me.
And I might drop a couple of these. Hold
on. Yo, listen, man. I'm Mr. Trozaurus himself, so I run that school, so it don't matter.
Okay, so we'll do it like that. I just want to keep it
fair. Shout out to Mama Steph, by the way, in the building, man. That's my mom right there, man. Yeah.
All praise to the Most High for Mama.
She know what it is.
Hey, Q. Hey, give me a minute. I just come from the store and put some stuff up. I'm gonna be back in a second, y'all. But Garfield, don't go nowhere.
Damn, he running already? He running already?
Garfield, hold on now.
He running already? He come on stage and like, damn, let me start running from now, man. Oh, man.
I would have came up, Garfield, if I was running.
Hey, listen, how many minutes you need? How many minutes you need?
Bring another victim.
That's why I didn't answer. But yeah, that's why I went around I didn't come up automatically because I went around my phone. I'm getting a couple of things situated over here.
Okay.
I tell you what. Like I said, I guess I got a couple of questions for Garfield. I do have a couple of questions for him.
Well, look, if you won't be able to finish it, I think we probably need to start with somebody else.
Okay.
If you won't be able to finish it.
All right, cool. I just want to ask you, is Garfield like on the hot seat? Is he like on the hot seat?
No.
It's more of a
This is a dialogue.
Yeah, it's a discussion.
I could be on a hot seat if you want to. You could put me there with questions, but I mean, it just got to be on topic. That's all.
Hey, look, Garfield said he can handle it.
I'm here for all the smoke. I'm here for call y'all leaders. Where y'all leaders at? That's the joke. That's the crazy part.
Well, the room just opened up, Garfield. I think
I'm talking. Let me talk my shit, Q. Let me talk my shit.
Go ahead. You got it.
Where are the leaders at? Where's Son of Mary at? And his alter ego Jada Rips. Where is his alter ego Jada? Because I think they're the same person, by the way. Jada Rips and Son of Mary. I think they're the same person.
I thought Mara coming. I think she in the group. Garfield.
Who's that?
Nothing. Never mind.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what that is.
Oh, that's my sister. Right. Oh man. All right. Anyway, what's up? You ready, or we gotta wait for you?
Let me see. Super Villain, are you ready right now? Are you ready, Super Villain? Put a 1 in the chat. Raise your hand, Super Villain, if you're ready right now. Because I'm gonna go in order. Super Villain going once?
I think we should do whoever has their hand raised first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Who has their hand up? Well, Jamal, I think Jamal agrees with Garfield.
Jamal, I'm gonna be honest, niggas ain't wasting their time on Jamal, man. Just
right.
Shout out to Jamal, man. Shout out to Jamal, bro. Don't listen to them. Don't get discouraged, man.
Who's the other ones? Parker, Granddaddy Parker. That's who else I see with that hand raising.
Granddaddy?
Yeah, want to let him up?
Let him up, King. Let's bring him up to again.
Gotcha.
Hey, Shalom.
Shalom. Yehovah Shema Shabbat Shema Kakadash to all the brothers of Israel that's on the panel. How y'all doing?
Hey, Shalom, Lord.
All praise to the Most. How you doing, bro? You ready for it, King?
Man, I'm doing good. Man, I ain't got nothing to really go into, man. I just want to say real quick, man.
But you don't want to deal. You don't want to deal with Garfield?
Yeah, man. No. I just want to give a quick shout out.
Nah. We ain't got time for that, man. We ain't got time.
I just want to say real quick, man. I think there's too many light-skinned brothers in Israel, man.
Talk about it. Yahweh Sap is number one.
He hating on me, son.
You can't hate on the light-skinned brother, man. You can't hate on the light-skinned brother. You're not really, man.
Hey, we got to do a recount, man, of the dark-skinned brothers. We got to see what's going on, man. We got to see what's going on.
That's why I don't want to join the Israelites. Too many light-skinned leaders. Too many light-skinned leaders. I try to go in Ram's camp. Too many light-skinned dudes. I tried ISUPK. Too many light-skinned dudes. All these camps is light-skinned, man. They're running the spots. So we need more dark-skinned people, man. Come on, man. Prince, come on. Start your own camp, Prince. Let's go, man. Q, let's go.
Garfield, you got light-skinned people in your family, though.
You know what?
Ready,
That's my son. Yeah, he light-skinned.
If you're ready to deal with Garfield, raise your hand. I see E-Money. Let's see what E-Money has to say.
Man. Much love, everybody. Much love, y'all.
Much love, bro. Peace and love to you, my
Much love, King.
Hey, Shalom, love.
Shalom, King. You ready for something? What you got? Oh, that was y'all son. Okay. I just invited you up, E-Money. Come on, y'all. Come on up, y'all. What's up? Come on in. E-Money, I just invited you up, King.
I'm almost ready. I'll go after E-Money. Whoever want to go first. I just don't want to be first. That's all.
First is the best place for me. Jamal, what do you have to say, brother?
All I want to say is let's look at Titus 3:9.
No, we don't want to do that right now. This is a special room today.
Right,
we don't want to do
special. This is special too. What do you mean?
We're not doing that today, brother. Now, what do you have to say? So I can move you back down real quick. Now, we're not doing it today. I appreciate it.
Is that all right?
Yeah, what do you have to say?
Can I read it real quick? That's all. I got it right here.
Yeah, go ahead and read it, brother.
Okay, Titus 3:9. Everyone listen real quick.
And while he's reading that, anybody who's ready, raise your hand. Eddie, are you ready? Raise your hand, King. Let me know. I got you four, but I can bring you up right now if you're ready to come up now. Just raise your hand for whoever ready. Nobody wants to go first.
Did you ping General Ash? Because I think he's looking for
Ash. Yeah, I pinged him. I'm just asking everybody. Okay, it isn't. He's just listening. Okay, I've been pinging. I got a ton of more brothers and sisters to ping, so I'm not done pinging. But if you're ready right now, we need somebody to start it off. I know you don't want to go first, but come on up, y'all, because I think the first position is going to be pretty good. So y'all come on up, Israelite teachers. If you're a teacher, you need to be on stage. You need to raise your hand, but I understand you don't want to come up. But
House members, friends with speakers, read Titus 3:9.
King, you gotta come on, bro. You gotta come on, bro.
A quick verse, real quick. It's just one.
Go ahead and read it, bro. Go ahead and read it.
All right, you don't mind? I'll read it. Good, I appreciate it. It's just real quick. It says, "But avoid foolish."
Is it me or did he cut out?
Yeah, I think he cut out.
Mosai's working, man. Mosai's
working.
Did
it cut out? Because did you hear that? Did it work?
Read it again, bro.
Okay. All it says is, "But avoid foolish controversies and genealogy."
Yeah, I think he's cutting out. I think he's cutting out because he don't know what he's talking about. I think that's what it is.
Well, I think he's reading the precept where it says, avoid foolish conversation about genealogy.
Yeah.
Because I think I know where he's going. Because typically, nobody, like, let's say, like, have like a physical genetic marker that they can trace their lineage back to. and that's referring to any group. I think that's what he's probably going to go into.
Yeah, we're not going to worry about him. Jamal, I'm going to move Jamal down.
I want to say, hey Garfield, do you believe that the Israelites are real people?
Ancient Israelites.
You ready? You ready, Tim?
You ready?
Because I want to start something quick.
Yeah, I just want to ask him. I want to let it flow naturally. I just want to let it flow naturally.
Y'all stop. You got it, King. Go ahead, go.
Garfield.
Yes, my brother.
Do you believe that the Israelites existed?
That ancient Israelites existed, yes.
Okay. Who would they be today, according to your knowledge and understanding and research?
I think
are they still around today?
I think the ancient Israelites I think the ancient Israelites are a mixed people, and if we look at genetics, because a lot of people don't like genetics, they said they don't have any. The guy's called in Timothy 3 and whatever that stuff is, genealogies. But the issue is, when you look at what's called population genetics, you do have people who have bodies who lived in the time period of the Iron Age who they identify as Israel. There's over 130 samples, and they pretty much show a consistency of what genetic markers they have. So what they do is they go all over the world and they look at communities that lived in like 2nd century BC. If they lived in France, they got communities in Asia, in Africa, North Africa, in Taout, in Morocco, in Tunisia. And what they do is, there's a matter of fact, there's an island called Djerba, which is off of Tunisia. They test the Israelites on that island, and they go back. They said their history is that they go back to Solomon's time period, and that they had traveled to that region. It's a small island. A lot of Israelites live there, and they have a history that goes back to the tradition of Solomon. And when you check their DNA, they would be the perfect people I would want to align with, because they have a history of practicing a form of Israelism or Judaism, if I may, and their markers are consistent with the markers that they find in the Levant region. So we
okay, you
are
said
not,
this island is called what again? I'm sorry.
Djerba, Djerba.
Okay. Is there somewhere we can find in the Bible? Is there like, can you like run that through the Bible, through the scriptures? These people that lived in that region, is there somewhere that can be proved biblically?
As far as what?
As far as like them being Israelites. I mean, as far as like the Israelites migrated to that area, because you said that's the genetic marker that they use, right? So then therefore there should be some biblical evidence that Israelites was in that region.
Oh, you want a story
that you can pull up?
Well, let's look at it this way.
A biblical source, right?
Yeah,
a biblical source with your outside.
I won't say there's an actual biblical source, but what I will say, if you give me the time to respond, because you did cut me off a while ago. I didn't say
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad. I just wanted to
you gotta wait until I'm finished. All right, but this is what I will say to that, right? There is some sort of scattering or something to do with the diaspora as far as people moving around. As far as there is in Talmudic sources, they talk about them going into Africa. They're actually referring to Northern Africa, where Tunisia is, because Tunisia was considered Africa in the 2nd century BC, right? If you go by the name Africanus, it comes from because he conquered that area. So Djerba is right off of where Tunisia is. It's an island. And those people, they have their own tradition saying that they come from the time of Solomon. What I'm trying to say is there's a consistency worldwide in the diaspora of Jewry, where these people are connected because they practice a culture that's biblical. So that's their connection. They're practicing the culture, and that those people who they test normally range and have a similar DNA marker showing a consistency for the last probably 2,500 years. So I could tell you this. Before the Israelites lived in Canaan or classified themselves as Israelites, you had people living in the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age is from 3200 BC to around 1200 BC. That's the Bronze Age. The Iron Age is from 1200 all the way down to 600 BC. Now, there is a consistency, even with diet. The people are eating the same food from the Bronze Age, come all the way down to the Maccabean period, or even to the 1st century period. The genetic markers that they collected from the Bronze Age, all the way down to even to the 1st century BC. It shows a consistency. So so if somebody's going to do what's called population genetics and get 100 samples, and you now saying, hey, I'm a part of the diaspora, and you show a consistency of practicing that culture, and they check your DNA and it actually is similar or connected to those people, then you have the choice to say, hey, what? The marker don't make you a Jew, but the fact that you're practicing the culture is what makes you a Jew. All right, I yield.
Okay, I'll praise. All right, you said the genetic marker, right? Here's a precept, right, according to the Bible. Let's see, because you said there were evidence of people practicing their culture in that time. Are you aware of Esther?
Esther, yes, Esther, yeah. Esther 3:8. Talk about the Jews.
Right.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Right, and Esther, where it says, let me get the King James, Esther 8:17. It says, in every province and in every city, whether the king commanded and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness and a feast of a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. So what that signifies is that you can find many cultures in antiquity that probably follow Jewish customs, but that don't make them the people. Now, again, the genetic marker part, right? This is the part I want to harp on.
Are you asking a question regarding Esther? Do you want me to respond to that, or are you just making a statement?
Well, I was making a statement right there, but you can respond.
Let me respond to that real carefully. Now, again, we're going to fall into a trap. You believe in the Bible 100%. I do not believe in the Bible 100%, but I do respect the narrative. Now, the issue now with the narrative saying that, I don't know if that is a true story. That story probably is being told for a reason, because remember, they're actually in Persia, which is modern day Iran. So you're saying that the Jews, these people were worried about converting to Judaism because of X, Y, and Z. I don't believe that story is true. I don't believe that story.
Okay.
That story, hold on, Prince, you're interrupting me.
I have to cut you off because you cut me off as well. That's all. We're having a back and forth dialogue, right? Being respectful. We're having a back and forth dialogue. I don't want to be disrespectful, Garfield. It's just that when you say that, I can say the same thing about your sources. I don't believe them either.
Yeah, you see, that's the beautiful thing with science. It's not compulsory. But with your Bible, it forces you even to believe a lie. So if, say, for example, hold on. All right. Let me carry on. Let me say this. There's no white man science, no black man science. Science is science. We don't go to the doctor and say that I don't want you to do my blood work because you're white. So please stop with the foolishness. Let's get to the point. The point I'm trying to make to you is that there are stories in the Bible that we find that we could prove that they're not true. For example, I talked about this many a times. Jeremiah 43 from verses 7 to the end talks about Nebuchadnezzar conquering Egypt. There's no evidence Nebuchadnezzar ever conquered Egypt or burned down the temples, as Jeremiah the prophecy says. There's no evidence in what Ezekiel also said about him destroying Egypt and no man would live there or walk through there for 40 years and that the Egyptians would be scattered throughout the diaspora. There's no evidence that actually happened. That was a prophecy in Nebuchadnezzar's time period. So when I said I don't take the Bible 100%, it's because it has false prophecies. Now, you can't accept a false prophecy even if I show 100% proof that it's false because you believe in the book. But with science, I don't have to believe in science. I could change. Hold on. I could shift my position. I could change my position based on new evidence. But with the Bible, you could. Yo, I can't dialogue with this dude, yo. He ain't got no discipline. I'm a mute him.
No, my bad. Go ahead, Garfield. My bad, Garfield. Go ahead, Garfield. Go ahead, Garfield. Go ahead.
What happened? I think the conversation's flowing.
I'll be right back. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
No, go ahead, Garfield. Go ahead. I don't want you to, because I don't want to be unfair because you were cutting me off. I thought we were having a back and forth dialogue. If you say something that's untrue, I'm gonna respond to that. You said that there's a false prophecy in the Bible. There is no false prophecy in the Bible. You can't prove that, Garfield. You can't prove that. I mean, show me where this false prophecy is, you know. So I just don't believe that what you're saying, brother. I believe you're lying on the Bible when you say that. So that's just your word, right? You can't prove that. However, the reason why your genetics and all the information that you have is garbage, right? This is why Jeremiah chapter 8 and verse 1. If you're going to bring forth any information, it must first be filtered through the Bible, right? Because we are Bible believing people here, right? At least most of us are. So it has to be filtered through the Bible. Jeremiah chapter 8 and verse 1, it says, "At that time, saith the Lord, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah and the bones of his princes," right? "And the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves. And they shall spread them before the sun and the moon, and all the hosts of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. They shall not be gathered, nor be buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth." So all these people, right, all these scientists and sources that you said you have that can trace genetic markers, they're liars. Because the Bible just told us that they're not going to be able to even do that. And the reason why I asked you what science we're talking about, because it does matter. We understand that, and I know you know this, Garfield. You ever heard of Tuskegee, the Tuskegee experiment? You had a man named Walter Plecker. For a long time, you have eugenics that believe that Black people was just innately inferior, and they believe they can prove that scientifically. So yes, certain oppositions of science does matter, brother. All science can be biased. Let's just be honest with that. This is 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 20. It says, "O Timothy, guard that deposit." I'm sorry, let me get the King James. It says, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings in oppositions of science, falsely so called." So yes, there's the Bible telling us that certain oppositions of science cannot and shall not be trusted. And whose science? And I have more information regarding, and we can go into secular history with this as well, because I want everybody to Google, and you can just, as a matter of fact, you can go into your libraries, you can go into your Google, you can go into any platform that profess knowledge, and you can look this up. You will find that all of your knowledge outlets are biased towards Black people. You will find that all your information that you find towards Black people regarding the children of Israel is biased. And just a simple Google search, you will see, just say, hey, are Black people, is there any genetic or historical evidence connected to Black people, of the ancient Israelites connected to Black people today in America? And you will see that everything that pulls up, they're gonna be like, oh yes, there's no evidence of this, there's no evidence of that. They just do the same thing that says for white people, right? And what you're gonna find is they're gonna deviate back over to Black Hebrew Israelism, is what they so call it, right?
Time out. Why don't we do this?
But that's what they would do. Hold on
one second, Prince.
Yeah, Garfield.
Why don't we put a 2-minute response on every comment? So instead of somebody blabbing, the brother asked, I told you I'd be back in 2 minutes. I just wanted to make one point.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were gone. I'm sorry.
I wanted to make one point, right? I wanted to make one simple point about Nebuchadnezzar real quickly, right? Jeremiah 43, verses 9 to 13. "Take in your hands large stones and hide them in the mortar in the pavement, which is at the entrance to Pharaoh's palace in Taphanes, in the sight of men of Judah, and say to them, Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will send and take Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and he will set his throne above these stones which I have hid, and he will spread his royal canopy over them. He shall come and smite the land of Egypt, giving to the pestilence those who are doomed to the pestilence, to captivity those who are doomed to captivity, and to the sword those who are doomed to the sword. He shall kindle a fire in the temples of gods of Egypt, and he shall burn them and carry them away captive, and he shall clean the land of Egypt as the shepherd cleans his cloak of vermin, and he shall go away from there in peace. he shall break the obelisk of Heliopolis, which is in the land of Egypt, and the temples of the gods of Egypt he shall burn with fire. Now, do you agree, before you respond to that, do you agree this is a prophecy from Jeremiah regarding Nebuchadnezzar and the destruction of Egypt? Do you agree to that?
I don't want to cut you off, and I will answer, but I want to know, can you show the book, chapter, and verse again so I can look at it and read it?
Jeremiah 43, 9 to 13.
Jeremiah 43, chapter 9, and verse 13. All right, let me look at that again. Could you read that one more time? I'm sorry, because I was busy trying to find it. I'm looking at it now.
So you want me to read it over?
Explain it again. Now, you said which part is the prophecy that you said? Now, you said this is a prophecy, right?
The whole prophecy. It says, behold, I will send and take in the sight of men of Judah and say to them, thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will send and take Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and he will set his throne above these stones, which I have hid, and he will spread his royal canopy over them. He shall come and smite the land of Egypt, giving to the pestilence those who are doomed to the pestilence, to captivity those who are doomed to captivity, and to the sword those who are doomed to the sword. He shall kindle a fire in the temples of the gods of Egypt, and he shall burn them and carry them away captive. And he shall clean the land of Egypt as a shepherd cleans his cloak of vermin, and he shall go away from there in peace. He shall break the obelisk of Heliopolis, which is in the land of Egypt, and the temples of the gods of Egypt he shall burn with fire. Now, I wanna ask you, is this a prophecy regarding Nebuchadnezzar against Egypt?
I wouldn't say it's a prophecy, but it sounds somewhat like it.
Is it a prophecy? Yes or no?
Yes. Let me say yes,
right, yes,
because it is saying I will do. So yes, I would say it's been prophesied.
Okay. Now, who is this prophecy regarding? Who is involved in the prophecy?
It says that Nebuchadnezzar, it says, and I will kindle fire in the houses of the gods of Egypt, and he shall burn them and carry them away captives, and he shall array himself with the land of Egypt. It says that the Babylonians will, I guess, take the Egyptians into captivity. Is this what this is talking about?
Right.
Or they will rule over the Egyptians. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
The prophecy is saying,
well,
right?
the prophecy is saying what it says. I can't say what the Bible is saying. The Bible is saying it for itself. Now,
I got you.
Do you agree that this is King of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar?
Yes.
All right. Do you now agree that this is supposed to take place in Egypt?
Yes, and everywhere else, because the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, at that time, ruled.
We're talking about what's written in Jeremiah. We're talking about what's written in Jeremiah. I'm trying to stick to that.
I'm sticking to Jeremiah. The king of Babylon, right? Nebuchadnezzar was king over all the nations at that time. He was.
Wait a minute. Point of moderation. I don't think where I asked what relevance does this question or this piece of information have to do with the title?
All right, we're gonna get to that. Right?
That's what I want to know.
We're gonna get to that because I made a comment and he asked me. He said, "There's no false prophecies in the Bible." He made a declaration.
Yeah. Okay.
So now
we
don't
want to go there, Garfield. We don't want to go there, Garfield. We want to stay at the top. We don't want to go there, Garfield.
Okay.
So let's go. But hold on. Let's go away from that. That's a whole other topic. Let's stay on. Are we proof that we are not Israelites? And King, you have to prove that we are the Israelites. Let's do that.
All right. So let me say this. You quoted a scripture from Esther. I said I don't know if that's historical. I don't agree that during the Persian time period while they were ruling, that there was a person named Esther may have lived there. Person named Mordecai may have lived there. I have no problem with that. But to say that people were scared into or worried about converting to Judaism, I think that story is told for a specific reason. There's a reason why they're telling that story. I don't think that is a reality, because Persia was an empire. They were in control for almost 300 years, from 539 all the way down to 332. So they were in control, well, actually 200 years. So they were in control for a good 200 years. So I don't see them being feared, have fear in that area when they actually control, because weren't Jews or Israelites in captivity to Persia? So why would Persians, people living in Persia, be in control of the empire that's in control over their area? Yehud Medinata. That makes no sense. But I will say this. Now, how are we today? You believe you're an Israelite, right? 100%, right? Based off of scripture, right? Prince?
Correct.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Do you have a way how to prove your chronology? And do you have a way how to prove your chronology of how you got here from Israel? What tradition do you hold to?
Okay. Well, there's a book by Rudolph R. Windsor, From Babylon to Timbuktu. They talked about after 70 AD and how that the Israelites, when they would go into slave, well, they fled over into Africa in variations of parts of Africa, and they went into slavery under the Roman Empire. As we can clearly see that in the historical evidence, and that those slave markets was filled. Those Israelites, right? They was filled. The slave markets was filled with Black Jewish slaves, according to our good brother Rudolph R. Windsor, the scholar. And you have other source references too that goes into the practices, such as like the Limba tribe, the Igbos, the tribe of Ashan, all these tribes. They're scattered throughout. And of course, there's also archaeological evidence about people being over in North America as well. So yeah, it's just a lot of different sources. But I just want to know, now that I've answered your question, do you have any proof or archaeological proof that we're not? And if you do, I mean, you did say that you do believe that the Israelites existed, so then they must be somewhere, right? So if not the Negro, then who? If you could show us.
All right. Yeah, that's a obsession with color, the whole color thing, to make people feel like, oh, let's not go there. Now, let me just respond to what you said. First of all, Rudolph Windsor did not say it the way you did. He actually said 1 million Jews went into Africa and North Africa from a certain time period, or a certain time period, which I actually disagree with, because there's no evidence to prove that. Now, what happened is we regurgitate information that's friendly to our minds. This is what you need to do right now. I am telling you that the 70 AD argument is bullshit. There's no evidence of Jews running into North Africa and ending up in West Africa. How do I know this? I know this because I have researched it actually, and what we find is that the desert area, this desert area that people are claiming that they're running into, makes absolutely no sense for any human being, not only Jews, but for the Romans, for whoever is in charge, because the Romans had 5 expeditions into Africa. And the Roman Empire ruled every area where the Jews could run. They controlled North Africa, they controlled Asia, they controlled Europe, they controlled the exact empire that Greece had control. They actually had control over it. So where would the Jews run? That's like running out of Egypt into the Egyptians who control the area, the same Exodus tradition. So what we find, and this is the source, the Jewish revolts against Rome, AD 66 to 135, a military analysis by James J. Bloom. And what we find is that a lot of Jews committed suicide. A lot of them didn't want to get captured, so they committed suicide. They barged themselves in. Then we had a bunch of them who went to Cyrene, which is Libya. What happened is the Sicarii group went to, it's in that same book that I just quoted, the Sicarii group went to Cyrene and said, hey, I want us to have a new revolt. So the Jews that were taken to Cyrene snitched on Sicarii and told the Roman government they're trying to revolt. So what did they do? They basically kicked them out of that region. They kicked the Jews out of that region. After the war ended, laws were placed ordering the exile of Jews from Cyrene, reduced the Jewish community of Cyrene to insignificance, and set it on the road to inevitable decline. So this was the main community where people were taken to as slaves or as workers after 70 AD. The other Jews moved from South Israel to Northern Israel, where Pella is. That's the tradition of the Ebionites. So they didn't vamoose or get out of Israel. That is a lie that I hear Black Hebrew Israelites tell all the time on this app. There's no 70 AD into North Africa, ending up in West Africa. And the reason why I hold so strong to it is because 5 years ago, let's look at this. 5 years ago, 30,000 people were missing in the Saharan desert. The Saharan desert is not a nice place for anybody in even today's world. Look at what I said. 5 years ago, 30,000 missing reported by the UN, UN.org, the African Renewal Project. You could Google that yourself. And you'll see 30,000 missing. How are they missing? You have Humvees, you have cell phones, you have technology, you have water. But imagine Jews running through that area, running from the Romans. And you could picture them going into the Saharan desert where they could be attacked by animals. The heat is unbearable, 120 degrees. It's not even a livable situation for many people unless you're used to it. So you're saying Jews ran through here and did what exactly? Let me just read something carefully for you right now. Some of the reasons why people can't travel through the Saharan desert area is because of water, lack of accessibility, the heat goes up to 40 degrees Celsius, the scarcity of water, scarcity of food materials, scarcity of living homes, non-availability of motor transport, sand winds, communication problems. So if 5 years ago, 30,000 people got missing in the Sahara Desert, imagine Jews running 2,000 years ago. It makes absolutely no sense. But another kicker is after the 70 AD war, you had the 115 AD war, which is the revolt, the Kittus War. So after the Kittus War, 20 years later, you had the Bar Kokhba revolt. They said 500,000 Jews died in Judea. So where did these 500,000 Jews come from if majority of them left the region? It makes no sense. Then after the Bar Kokhba revolt, you have a synagogue being built in Judea in 200 by Rabbi Hanassi. You could Google him. Rabbi Hanassi built a synagogue 200 AD. So that's remnants of the Israelites still living in the land. This whole thing about 70 AD coincidentally was started possibly by Justin Martyr, a Christian, around 121 AD. He's the first to start saying that the Jews left out of the region and ran away and whatever. But the archaeology proves that the people continued to live there even up until the time of Islam of 700 AD. They helped them against the Byzantine Empire. How are Jews living there? And we have the 21 different communities documenting more than 2,000 Jews in each community, or even 20,000 Jews in each community, up until the 15th century. So how is it that these Jews are vamoosing or leaving or scattered or ran away? Because Rudolph Windsor wrote a guy that lives in New Jersey wrote a book, Babylon the Timbuktu, and we're supposed to believe it 100% without sources. There's absolutely no sources out there that a number of Jews, numerous amount of Jews, were living in Africa at any time at all before colonialism. Before 1492, you won't find no evidence talking about people living in Timbuktu or whatever. So I want to deal with that because that's one of the biggest claims that Israelites claim about 70 AD, and it's rubbish. It's garbage. I yield. Bring evidence.
All right. Well, hold on. Because you said a lot, right? Because now Rudolph Windsor, now his that source, a black man can't be trusted now. All right. Right here, when you look at anybody, you can just you can Google it. You can look through Black Jews of antiquity. You can actually look at all the archaeological evidence of the migration of Black people moving throughout North, Central, and South Africa, all the way down throughout all the way to the coast, the west coast of Africa. Rudolph Windsor talked about this. So now, and not only did he talk about that, but he went over and he spoke to the tribes. He would not only that, he went and he had archaeological evidence of this. He went over, they traced this information, they traced how the route they would have taken, all of these things is all there. Also, you can look at, let's see, there's a book called by Alicia Israel called Into Egypt Again with Ships. I want everybody to look up that book called Into Egypt Again with Ships. Also goes through this a barrage of information about how Black people could travel through that. Because again, the same argument that you're using about the sub-Saharan desert is the same argument the white supremacists say. That's why there is no knowledge or education, and the reason why Africans are so far behind on education is from the Europeans. It's the same thing that they say, right? So let's just go to the Bible. Let's just go to what Christ said in Luke 21 and 24. Let's just go to what the Bible says. Because everything must first be, we're having a biblical argument and we're filtering it. We're having a biblical argument. We're filtering our sources, our outside sources through the Bible. This is how you must look at it. I understand you want to be objective, and that's fine. But we're Bible believers. This is Luke 21, verse 24, and it reads, and it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captives into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Right? So if all nations don't include Africa, right, then I don't understand what he's saying. Because Christ just prophesied that we will be in all nations, and that the heathen will be in our land during that time. Now, let's go to some secular information, right? It says here, let's see. I guess it's like a Jewish rabbi. I think it's called Beta Israel. In ancient communities, right? It talks about the historical records of the oral traditions and the documents that the Jews in certain communities that existed for centuries, the ancient kingdoms of Ghana and Mali, in Senegal, right? All the way throughout West Africa, long before colonialism stepped foot in Africa, right? If you're trying to say that we got that Black people became Jews because of white influence, you're wrong, right? Because what you're saying is that we get everything from white people, but then in the same breath, you would turn around and say that, well, white people got everything from us because of the Egyptians, blah, 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 blah. So which one is it? So you cannot have both, right? However, so now if they learn everything from us, then why is it that they could not have learned this from us as well, right? Just to debunk your sub-Saharan argument, right? Just look this up. I was looking it up. It says multiple communities of Black Jews traveled across the Sahara over centuries, largely using established trans-Saharan trade routes and caravan networks. Not a single one-time event. The journeys were often dangerous and difficult, right? Undertaking reasons such as escaping persecution, seeking economic opportunities, or making their way to a Holy Land. So a lot of our people travel across the sub-Saharan desert easily, right? So just because you can't do it, that don't mean that our people didn't have ways of doing that. Again, the white supremacists use this argument when they say that that's why Black people were so far behind them, because the sub-Saharan desert was keeping them from the rest of the world. That's a lie. We know exactly how to navigate the Sub-Saharan. So that's a false narrative right there. And I don't know, and I would like to read up on that source where you got that information from. If you could put that in the chat as well. And I'll be putting my sources in the chat as well too.
Is that time?
I use my time, but I was gonna go into Ethiopia.
You know what? I'm gonna take 20 seconds and ask you this. Do you have a source? Do you have a source of Jews living in Africa, West Africa, a community of Jews living in West Africa before 1492?
Let me see.
Yes or no?
Source?
Yes or no? Just a simple question. You have the source? All right. Hold on a second. You just spoke. All right. You said the Lemba tribe. All right. Let me speak real quickly. Ladies, stop. I asked him a yes or no. Hold on a second. No, I stopped my time. I stopped. Hold on, y'all. Listen to what I'm saying first.
I'm not against you.
I've never said listen to me first. He just spoke. I wanted to ask him a simple question just to get clarity on what he just spoke about for 5 minutes. So don't give him back the mic, because I just
I'm not
asked
giving him back the
for
mic.
clarity.
I was gonna say, that's why you gotta listen and let me mod Garfield. I was gonna say, because you guys got tangled up, Garfield just asked the question again to make sure the audience heard it. This ain't about you, this ain't about Prince, it's about the audience. To make sure the audience heard it, Prince, you can reply quickly, and then Garfield, you can continue what you wanted to do.
He did reply.
All right.
He did reply.
Oh.
He said the Lemba tribe, which I have to, it's true. The Lemba tribe are connected to something. So what's the problem?
No, there's no problem. It's for the audience, so they can walk, because y'all started the battle after that. That's all, bro.
Okay. All right. So you said, is that so to my question, your answer is the Lemba tribe. Am I correct?
Not just the Lemba tribe, the tribe of Lashan, you have the Yoruba, you have several tribes over there. This is that. Then on top of that, you have ancient maps. Of course, you quoted them already. But
ancient what? I didn't hear that. Ancient what?
No, the map. I think it says a wider of the kingdom of Judah, right? And so your premise is that Black people didn't have this information prior to colonialism, right? That's your premise, right?
Yes, that's a premise of mine. Yes.
All right. And so what you're gonna say is that these tribes, the Yoruba, the Lemba, and all this evidence of our people basically practicing Jewish customs or Hebrew customs came by way of white people. Is that your argument?
I never said anything about white people.
No, I just want to know. No, I know you didn't say that. I'm saying is that your argument?
You won't hear me
something
say
along those
anything.
lines.
No, that is not correct. And let me
explain it.
Let me respond. All right. Do me a favor. Mute up for a second, because I don't want you to interrupt me what I'm saying. The reason why these conversations are important, because this brother don't know history. He doesn't have any clue what he's talking about. He's memorizing and using sources he doesn't even know. I asked the brother, do you have evidence of anyone going to West Africa before 1492? And is there evidence of a community there? The brother shouted out Lemba. When he shouted out Lemba, I'm like, this guy don't know what the hell he's talking about. The Lemba are in South Africa, Zimbabwe. But I'm going to read something, and this source, you guys pay attention to this source. This is from the Journal of International Academic Research for Multidisciplinary. It's from Ephraim Chikakano, Mandivenga, and Tudor Parfit. Two scholars at a crossroads, reflections on the Remba origins. Remba and Lemba is the same thing. All right, when you hear I say Remba, it's by Dr. Dube Edmore. Lemba is not, and I repeat, not in West Africa. The Lemba were discovered in the 21st century by Tudor, well, not by Tudor Parfit, by people earlier, but they always had their traditions. But this guy who I'm talking to, Prince, don't know what the hell he's talking about. Because if you don't know that the Lemba is in South Africa, why are you trying to teach history? Now listen to this. Some Remba people inhabit the area around where? Great Zimbabwe, not West Africa, where there is evidence of Muslim presence a few centuries ago. Some of these Remba people claim Arab ancestry, in addition to similar circumcision patterns and similar Noma names. Now, listen to what it says. In our eyes, Tudor Parfit, a so-called white man, is bringing us information that the Lemba are Jews. But the truth of the matter is, there's a debate going on with him and the people who are from the land. He wants them to be Jews. He'll even lie and say they're Jews. He has a history of doing that. So you believe the white man when he says they're Jews. You love the white man. So you say, oh, we only get things from the white man. You love him when it's arguments that you support. I'm telling you that the scholars over there disagree totally with the argument of them being Jews. And I'm going to read the source again. Some of these Remba people claim Arab ancestry, in addition to similar circumcision patterns. They circumcise at 16 years old and so forth. They don't do it by the 8th day. They circumcise by what the Arabs do. Hammond took notes that, like Muslims, the Remba circumcised their sons between 7 and 15 instead of at infancy. That's a major, major point. Did you know that? No. He maintains that the marriage and dietary laws are aligned to the Muslim practice. The names of the Remba tribal groupings are actually Arabic and generally used by Muslims: Sadiki, Hussein, Hamisi, Haji, Bakiri Sarif or Saidi. For him, the Remba descended from Muslims, at least in part. These Remba, skilled in mining and metalwork, were believed to be foreigners in Zotspansberg. They're believed to be the source of right among the Venda, Sosa, and Thonga. He don't believe in DNA, right? Watch this. Nowhere is Madivenga clear in his advancement, the Muslim Lemba thesis, and in the abstract to his PhD thesis. Chapter 2 identifies and describes vestiges of Muslim influence among the Varemba people in the southern interior, among whom traces of Islamic culture have survived. It concludes that the Semitic cultural traits among the Lemba are indeed Islamic and not Jewish, as some writers have suggested, and that these influences had a Southeast African origin. It is also tentatively suggested that the Varemba may be distant descendants of the Muslims who got cut off from the coast by the Portuguese. But this is the most important part of this article. Tudor Parfit has gone to great lengths to prove that the Remba are of Jewish origin, while Ephraim Chicano Madivenga has stood his ground that the said Jewish origin is fallacious. The loophole in the genetic proof, Parfit's seemingly greatest trump card, is that both Jews and Arabs, being cousins, share the same genetic configuration of the same levels among the Lemba. The said Koheni model haplotype is shared by a number of tribes across that Middle East. Locally, Madivenga is supported by Nyatha, who says when a circumcised Moremba slaughters a beast, he faces the east. During the process, the man slaughters the beast, utters the following word, Bismillah Takabara, which means I slaughter in the name of God. God is the greatest. That he's showing the Muslim connection. Now, another thing too, when you bring up the Lembas, when they make the claim that they're Jewish, they're using genetic markers. So do you have the same genetic marker as the Lemba? I want you to answer that when it's your turn. Because that would be a clue that you're connected. You're connected. These people are Jewish and you're Jews. Do you have a connection? Yes or no? That's crazy. Again, I stand on this. Show me in the Yoruba culture, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Yoruba culture, and I have to read this source to enlighten you guys a little bit. It's called by David M. Goldenberg. Notice I'm quoting my sources. David M. Goldenberg, Black and Slave, The Origins and History of the Curse of Ham. He's talking about the oral traditions of the Yoruba. I want you guys to listen to the Yoruba's account taken by Muhammad Bello, a scholar and a second Sultan of Sokoto in Hausaland, northern Nigeria, wrote a history of the Yoruba in 1812. The people of the lands of Yoruba are from the remnants of the people of Banu Canaan, who were the tribe of Nimrod. The reason for their dwelling in the West, based upon what they have been narrated, is that Arab ibn Qatan drove them out from Iraq towards the West. They then journeyed between the lands of Egypt and Abyssinia. Hold on one second. He also traces their roots to Arabia, to Mecca, to Medina. They have a lot of oral traditions. They have no oral traditions, in fact, saying that they're Israelites. This is modern day. This is 1812. He's writing down all the traditions. Then, this is why I said before 1492, because I want a cutoff line. Before colonialists and missionaries come in the area, you don't hear nobody saying anything. The only thing you probably hear, you probably hear is that they are Muslim, because Muslims took over majority of West and Central Africa, and a lot of people converted, especially on the Mansa Musa. I yield. In Central Africa. That's what I'm requiring. Thank you.
All right, yes. Okay, give me a second. All right. Because you said a lot, right? And you're talking about the Limbo people, but you don't understand that the Limbo people did not start in South Africa. They migrated there, sir. Right? They came from a place called Sena. Look it up. Sena. Right? That's where they migrated from. They said the Sena people are Bantu, right? And Thingalistic group with origins in northern western Mozambique, and are also found in southern Malawi and eastern Zimbabwe. They migrated that way, sir. So they did not start in South Africa. So you know this already. You should know this at least. All right. Now let's look at because you also said something about I think you spoke about, you said a lot. I don't know if you spoke about the Igbos, but the Igbo people, they also, and you, before I go to the genetic marker thing,
I want y'all to take a look at this real quick. I want. Take a look at this very, very quick. Watch this right here. I didn't make it up. The Journal of Academic, there's a debate between Tudor Parfit and Madavengo. See, I didn't make this up. That's the sources. Remember, circumcised their son between 7 and 15. So they might have the same genetic markers as the brother talked about. See? Is that both Jews and Arabs, being cousins, share the same genetic configuration to the same levels found among the Rembo, which is the Lembo. So you're gonna see that as far as that, but they are basically following Islamic culture. They follow they circumcise between 7 and 16. They have cultural traits that's similar to Arabs, and as a matter of fact, they have a tradition coming from Senia, but that's an Arab connection because that's a part of the Indian Ocean slave trade. So it makes a lot of sense. And this is the article, so y'all could go back and search for the article yourself and find it for yourself. All right. Let me get back to the video.
Theory suggests that they either have deep indigenous roots, since their current homeland in southern eastern Nigeria migrated from the area around the confluence of the Benue and the Niger River. It says these people also migrated. Also, they believe to be from the ancient Israelites. Archaeological sites in southeastern Nigeria show evidence of human activity as far as back as what they say 250,000 years ago, etc. But they also go back, and these people claim to be descendants of the Israelites, right? So that's just another tribe, right? However, you can also, there's a ancient kingdom such as Timbuktu. We know about that. And I don't really have the source up on the Timbuktu right now, but most of our people know that though. However, let's see. There's a lot of information to behold here. Let's just go to the scriptures and let's just keep it biblical, right? Because the brother kept talking about that Black people or Black Americans are not Israelites. But there's evidence, but when you go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, right? Let's just go to some of the curses that were before, because he talked about the curse of Ham, even though Ham was never cursed according to the Bible. The curse was on Canaan, right? And that's another talking point that the white supremacists use, right? About the curse of Ham, and there was no curse ever placed upon Ham. Just to kind of correct that. But Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go and define our people, because again, this is a biblical conversation that when we have to filter our sources, and if you're gonna believe these people and their sources, you have to first filter it through the Bible. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, let's start at verse 15. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, it says, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to keep all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee, and they shall overtake thee," right? So let's take a look at some of the curses. Again, Garfield, if your premise is that the Black people that are scattered, or Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are scattered throughout North, Central, and South America, or throughout the globe, if they're not the Israelites, then who is, right? Then who are the Israelites? Who are they today? Because you said they are real people. If they exist, let's talk about that side of the conversation, and not just about how we're not Israelites. Because from a biblical perspective, it points more toward our way. right? Let's Deuteronomy 28 chapter. Let's get a curse. It says here. I'm gonna start. I said verse 15. I read verse 15. Verse 16 says, "Curse shall thou be in the city, and curse shall thou be in the field." Right? We saw that with our people and how we would curse in the fields and in the cities. How we still curse to this day. I'm gonna jump down to verse 54. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, there's a lot on this one. Let me jump down to verse 54. It says, "So that the man is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother and toward the wife of his bosom." Right? This is where. But before I do that, let me go to verse 49. Want to get the ones where it says, "These curses shall be up." Here it is, verse 46. It says, "And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever." So Garfield, whomever you say you believe in certain parts of the Bible, and you believe that the Israelites are real, so then you must believe that this is also true. Right? So you believe that these curses that I'm about to list off is going to be on these particular people for a sign and for a wonder, right? And it says, "And upon thy seed forever," right? And so these, and basically, and of course, you can go to Deuteronomy chapter 30, and the reason why these signs, these curses are upon us is because we transgress the laws of God, and how we get these curses up off of us is to obey the laws of God, right? So let's go to another curse, right? Let's go to verse 54. "So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother and toward the wife of his bosom, and of his children which he shall leave." Which he shall leave. So we know that this curse right here, a lot of our brothers we define this as criminality amongst our people. Of course, the negative stereotypes that befell on Black men in North America about how they will leave their children. Also, which is proof of that curse. Verse 56, it says that the tender, delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set her soul or foot, the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward the young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them. But when all these things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. So now, Garfield, because like I said, it's just going to start out with a couple of questions. The people you believe are the Israelites, right? And I didn't even read the most well-known curses in verse 68. You should be able to show this in antiquity on the people you believe are the Israelites, right? You say they're real people, they exist, right? Because if you're talking about your sources and where you're getting your sources from, you're going back into antiquity, right? I just want to know, because we believe in the Bible, show where these people you say are Israelites fit these curses.
Okay. All right. First, let me respond to something that you said. You glossed over it. You didn't get into it. The Igbo. It's a very important topic, and I know a lot of people. If you notice, I'm giving a source to. I have to start the video to say this, right? Why does people point out curses like your God only could curse you? Where is the blessings? I don't understand this. For 2,500 years, you've been cursed? What type of God would I believe in to say that, hey, he's cursing me every time for the last 2,500 years? So there's no blessings? This is why I point out in the Persian records how the Israelites became bankers. They were blessed. So you would apply that to the blessings. Who said you had to be cursed? It says if you don't follow God's law or his way, you'll be cursed. So what happened to the people who follow? You guys say you follow the laws every day. So what's happening? What's happening? Craziness. Everything that I read, so people could go back to the recording and get the source or request it from me through email. I want to give everybody that opportunity, whether you are a friend or a foe. Matter of fact, everybody is my friend in the chat. There's no enemies here. We are all black folks, and we're all under the same quote unquote curses. So we all should be one people. There's no foes of Garfield in the chat. All right. All right. Let me deal with this carefully because we're dealing with scholarship, and I got to school this young chap right here because he doesn't know how to research. All right. Let's get it carefully. The Igbo's claims, right? I actually could trace the Igbos. I could go to Alfred. His name is Alfred Dapper, 1668, Dutch geographer. In description of Africa, he noted their markets, palm oil trade, yam cultivation, and religious shrines. On religion, they worship certain deities and offer sacrifices to idols made of wood and clay. No reference to Jews, Israelites, or biblical ancestry. Source number 2, Jean Barbeau, 1678 to 1712. In his description of the coast of North and South Guinea, he wrote that the Igbo practice circumcision and various rituals. Now look at this quote. The Igbos have many superstitions and worship idols of their own making. They circumcise their children, but not for reasons of the law of Moses, rather as a heathen rite. This is important because Europeans saw circumcision, but explicitly said it was not for how the Jews do it. Because circumcision been in Africa from the Algerians on the walls in Africa for over 6,000 years, way before there was an Israelite. So they did that. The Portuguese missionaries now, they do not link Igbo to Israelites. The first person that officially did it was a Reverend J.F. Sean. And this is the Igbo. To my sister Thamara, this is the Igbo, not Nigerians, the Igbo. He said in the Journal of the Niger Expedition, the Igbo nation circumcised their children on the 8th day. They observed certain purifications and abstained from certain animals. This is where the Israelite connection officially started with the Igbos. It was a white missionary who is trying to translate the culture from a biblical mindset. And that's when they sent the 600 missionaries to Igbo land to try to convert them. So the Igbo, for those who listen to the Igbo, their arguments are good until you actually study it. I just gave you 2 primary sources in the 1600s who confirmed that they weren't Jews or Israelites or anything like that. This happened in the 1800s when missionaries went there and tried to change their oral traditions. All right, now let's deal with this Deuteronomy 28. I got to get up from where I'm at because I could get this source to you right now. All right, Deuteronomy 28. Let me just beat this up real quick. This is easy work. Deuteronomy, I could tell Prince is a rookie. You must start following the truth, the so-called truth, like 6 months now. Because you have the Israelite packet out. That you just say, let me go to this, let me go to this. Deuteronomy 28 verses 46, King James Bible. And I read, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever. What does forever mean? It's a preposition, Strong's 5704, as far as even to, up to, until, while. Let's go to Jeremiah 51, verse 62 to get context. Then shalt thou say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever. Here goes that forever again, Jeremiah 25:12. It shall happen when 70 years are accomplished that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, says the Lord, for their iniquity, and the land of Chaldeans, and I will make it desolate for what? Forever. Did that happen? I'm not going to go there. Jeremiah 51:62, and say the Lord, you have spoken concerning this place to cut it off, that none shall dwell therein, neither man nor animal, but that it shall be desolate forever. Jeremiah 50:39, therefore the wild animals of the desert with the wolves shall dwell there, and the ostriches shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever. Here goes that word again. Isaiah 14:20, you will not join them in burial because you have destroyed your land. You have killed your people. The seed of evildoers will not be named forever. Jeremiah 49:33, Isaiah 34:10. I could go on and on. Forever, eternity. Hebrew literature, hyperbolic language. Medes will destroy Babylon and make it desolate forever. The Medes never destroyed Babylon, which is a fake prophecy, but that's another topic for another time. Again, forever. It's just hyperbolic language, bro. You got to learn how to read the text you believe in. You see, this is what happened when you just read a book, listen to 2 lectures from Priest Daniel and Captain Yawasab, and think all of a sudden now you're an expert. You're a rookie at this. I could tell. Now watch this now. And I'm going to quote a scripture before you even go to it. Where's the scripture? Let me get the scripture right now. Let me get it. Let me get this precept for you right now. All right, here we go. Deuteronomy 28 verses 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Now let me say this. The word eagle should actually be the griffin vulture. You can go to Illustrated Bible Dictionary and Treasure of Biblical History by Matthew George Easton, where he explains to you that the griffin vulture, why they didn't use the griffin vulture and they use eagle. I'm going to explain to you why. In the biblical Nesher as the griffin vulture, this is an article by Fred S. Cannon. I got to quote the source. So when y'all email me for it, I give it to you. It says, the biblical Nesher is the griffin vulture. Both the biblical Nesher and ornithological griffin are known for their bald head, enormous wingspan, effortless flight, cliff nesting, devoted nurturing, rapid descent, and group feasting on carrion. Listen now carefully, my brother, and learn something. From biblical times until the industrial age, griffins have been ubiquitous in the Middle East, but absent in Northern Europe or the Americas. However, eagles commonly resided in Northern Europe, but are uncommon residents or pass-through migrants in the Middle East. You hear that? Eagles are commonly resided in where? Northern Europe, but are uncommon residents in the Middle East. Through millennia, when Northern Europeans saw translations for biblical plant and animal names, you hear this again? Through millennia, when Northern Europeans, the white folks, like you like to call them, the Edomites, saw translations for biblical plant and animal names, they sometimes replaced Middle Eastern meanings with recognizable Northern European ones. So the Nesher became known as the eagle to many Northern Europeans and North Americans. However, recent Hebrew ornithologists concur that the Nesher is the griffin. This distinction becomes important when gleaning nuances from biblical metaphors. So if you were thinking about bringing out this verse, I just want to kill that before you do. And last thing I'm going to bring up, he said, what about the curses? Who does it fit? All right, let's get to that right now. Let's go to this book called Vines Intertwine. Vines Intertwine, a history of Jews and Christians from the Babylonian exile to the advent of Islam. If you notice, I'm bringing sources for everything that I say. Jews of Babylon. Apart from the visitations of Ezra and Nehemiah, we have very little evidence for the growing Jewish community scattered around the Persian Empire. One source, however, allows us to extrapolate.
After this source, you're gonna yield.
Yeah, I'm gonna yield. I gotta read a scripture right after this so that you know what this is talking about.
No problem. No problem.
I got you, my
You
brother.
gotta wait, Cypher. You gotta wait, Cypher, until Prince passes it.
Yeah, the archive consists of more than 800 cuneiform tablets or fragments that preserve financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm of the Murashu family. The records date from 454 to 404 BC, hence the reigns of Artaxerxes and Darius II, and deal with members of the royal families, small landowners, and numerous lesser individuals. Listen to what the first part says. The archive consists of more than what? 800 cuneiform tablets or fragments that preserve financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm of the Murashu family. Murashu family lived in Babylon. These were literally Israelites. But why is this important? Because you guys like to talk about being cursed. You never read Deuteronomy 28 and talk about the blessings because you want to be a curse ass nigga. That shit is crazy. The curse. They'll go to Deuteronomy 28:12 and talk about the blessings. How comes none of you Israelites ever teach about the blessings? It's always about curse. I want to be cursed today. Deuteronomy 28:12. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. If you notice what I just read, it said from Vines Intertwine at the beginning, the 800 cuneiform tablets preserve financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm of the Murashu family. So Jews in Babylon got so advanced that they started lending money to other nations. So if you want to say this is a fulfillment of blessings, these people, and I wanted to get into this whole Babylonian community because they stayed there for over 2,500 years and they actually flew back in Operation Nehemiah and Ezra. So this community right here, I'm sorry, y'all, so please give me 2 more minutes, 90 seconds. I'm sorry, 90 seconds, I'm begging you. Prince, 90 seconds. Can I get 90 more seconds to make a point? 70 seconds. This book is called Iraq's Last Jews, Stories of Daily Life, Upheaval, and Escape from Modern Babylon. If you go to this book and you go to the page number 2, Iraq, hold on, no. It's right here. Page, what is this page? Over its 2,500 years of existence, the Iraqi Jewish community formed a homogeneous group and was able to maintain, look at this, Prince, communal identity, culture, and tradition throughout the centuries. All despite multiple conquests and political upheaval, war, and plagues. They were distinguished from their Iraqi brethren by their old Arabic dialect called Judeo-Arabic, which is replete with biblical Hebrew, biblical references, and words from Persian and Aramaic. They were set apart. Don't y'all have to talk about, I'm set apart, by their dress, their observation of the Shabbat, the holy days, and kashrut, their unique cuisine, and among many other things, a deep yearning for their spiritual Jerusalem and Zion. I'm saying this to you right now, brother. This group has a strong claim to be connected to the ancient group that was kicked out, that Nebuchadnezzar gave land, and to the people that were in 2 Kings 18:13, the 200,000 that Sennacherib took to Assyria. They're connected to this community too. And they kept biblical Hebrew for over 2,500 years, nigga. This ain't you. This is these people right here. I don't even care. I don't even know how they look. They're brown, they're dark, they're light. They have a legitimate claim to Israel. These people right here. And I got more for you too. Peace. I'm out.
Before you stop, did you read a part where you said that they got so well off that they started lending people or something like that? Did you read that apart in your source?
Hold on one second. Papi, I'm on a live stream. I'll call you when I'm done. I promise. Okay?
All right. When you're done, can you send Jay $25?
I'll do it right now. All right. Peace.
Okay.
All right.
Garfield, did you just read in your source that those people, whoever they be, you just said that, or you said that they're not us, but you said that they got so famous or they got so well off that they started lending to people or something like
yes,
that?
Yes, the Jews of Babylon. Yeah. However, allows us to extrapolate the growth of the Jews, namely the Marash or archive. The archive consists of more than 800 cuneiform tablets or fragments that preserve financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm of the Marash family.
I got you.
Point of clarification. Okay. Yeah, what's up? Did I send you this book? I thought I sent it.
Send it to me. Send it to me because I want to read that.
All right.
Which one, Garfield?
Vines Intertwined. Did I send you that? I think I sent you that.
No, I don't think you sent me that one. I know every book you sent.
I kept that one. I hid that one from you.
Yeah, you know how you are. You know how you are, man. You know how you are.
Go ahead, family.
I got you, Garfield. Okay, all right. Here's the problem with what you just read. Right now, you read this outside source as if these people are the Israelites, right? You read that, but there's a problem. One of the curses in Deuteronomy 28 chapter, when you go to verse 43, it says that the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. This is one of the telltale signs that you know that the Israelites, or who the Israelites are, what will befall them in the latter days, and who they will be, and where they will be. Those people you read, if they're the Israelites, then if they're the Israelites, then you can't show them keeping no commandments, right? Then therefore, by definition of the Bible, they would be under the curses of the Bible. Nobody's saying that we want to be cursed, right? Because there were times that we were blessed. We had in King David and Solomon, et cetera, et cetera. But nobody is saying that, right? That we just want to be cursed. The problem with it, though, because and I just want to touch on, because you tried to go to and use forever. I think I read in 46, Deuteronomy 28, in 46, where it says, "And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever." That word forever is olam, right? Look up the Hebrew word for, look it up. It says can mean world, universe, or eternity. Now, of course, depending on the context, but in this context, right, according to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, as long as the Israelites are in a state of sin, those curses will follow them and pursue them wherever they are. That's thus said the Lord, thus says the Holy Bible. You cannot say that those people that you read are the Israelites and they are not keeping God's commandments, I don't care what source they is. I don't care where you get that from. Brother, again, this is a biblical conversation that everything that you have must be first filtered through the Bible. This is how we make this determination, right? You cannot use that. So again, you were wrong on that. I love Garfield. You was wrong on that, but you was right about one thing. I am a babe, right? I am a babe, and the Most High has chosen the foolish things to confound the wise, right? So you're right. I'm nothing. I'm just a brother that tried his best to follow the Most High as best as he can. So I'm not professing to be anything. So that was one thing you was right about. But I pass. Well, before I do pass it, let me read this. Deuteronomy the 28, verse 68. And you can't. Now, a lot of people say that there's been other. You're gonna go to some extra text that's gonna say that. Oh, see, these people they went through this, but you're not gonna be able to prove that. It says here. This is verse 68. It says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you." Right? That's one of the kickers, right? However, the Bible just told us that whoever these people are, right, they're gonna be sold unto their enemies, which are the enemies of God. But slave men and slave women, right? And of course, we see this throughout antiquity, throughout people that was shipped, not only just the transatlantic slave trade, but the sub-Saharan slave trade, the Silk Road dynasty, then you have the cities over in India. A lot of our people, they're waking up over there too. And all praise to the Most High for that. So it's just a whole bunch of information that's regarding that. And there's no other group of people that you can say, right, that fits all of these curses, right? Because there's multiple curses and they must line up on these people. Verse 65 says, "And among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind." Not in the land of that's not ours, that we are prospering in, that we are just having all this money, that we're opening it up a whole bunch of different banks and just ruling everything and kicking ass and taking names. Then wait a minute, then the prophecy ain't true. Then you don't believe in the Bible anyway. So, but this is why it's problematic. I don't believe you believe this if you're trying to say that source of people you read are the Israelites and they don't fit these curses. Now, you probably say that they fit those blessings, but according to the Bible, the Israelites are going to be in a state of captivity because of the transgression they have committed. If anybody else want to take that up on, they could.
No, don't bring anybody else in yet. If you're finished, I want to say peace and love to you. I thank you for this conversation. And I want to say to you, my brother, I got love for you. And I hope you wake up one day. All right. But let me say this to Yawasop real quick, right? And I do have 3 more hours if everybody want to go. I got 3 more hours to go. What I wanted to do was I have a source. I'm trying to find it. It is very, very important regarding Deuteronomy 28. And what I want to do is say this to everybody. Deuteronomy 28, right? In my assessment of the Bible, is something that's being written around the 7th century BC. All right. This is what academia teaches. And this is where my study also leads. And I'm going to tell you why. When you read Deuteronomy 28, right, it mirrors the Esarhaddon treaty of the Assyrian king. Ashurnapal, Esarhaddon, it mirrors that treaty. What I do have word for word of the Assyrian code and comparing it to the Bible. I actually have it in my notes. I'm actually trying to find it right now so that it could be on the recording. The reason why authors think that it was written at the same time is because when you compare in some instances, word for word, it's the exact same thing. So for example, if you will not obey the voice of Yahweh your God, Deuteronomy 28:15, if you do not keep this oath of loyalty to Ashurnapal, So all the writer of the Bible did, I'm not disrespecting your text. I'm just letting you know. They were under the rulership of Assyrians. They had these laws already set up, these curses. They had their own curses, and they gave it to the vassal kingdoms like Tyre and Judah and Ekron and all these areas that they control. And this is what some of the stuff said. And in some of the instances, it's actually word for word. I'm trying to actually find it so I could read it. I think this is one right here. No, this is not it. May Ashur, Sin, Shamash, and Ishtar strike you with boils and ulcers. The Lord will smite you with boils of Egypt, with tumor, scabs, and itch. That's not the one I'm looking for. Hold on 1 second. You know what? I'll find it later on. But I do want to have a discussion about Deuteronomy 28 and what I found out. That's very important. You never heard this before. Yeah, what's up? This is the first time I'm actually going to say this.
Okay? No, I actually have a book on that, Garfield.
No. What I'm about to read is something that you never heard about, and you read it. All right. So now Deuteronomy 28:68. I think Deuteronomy fits 28. Fits.
After this point, real quick, my bad, Garfield, just land, so we could just move on to the next guest. All right, bro?
All right, cool. Deuteronomy 28, in my opinion, is connected to the 7th period, 7th century BC to 5th century BC. And I think everything was accomplished during that time period. What the brother don't realize is that the Babylonian Jews that I read about at the end is the same Jews that's in the other book, Vines Intertwined. So I read 2 different books and he didn't get it. Remember, the Jews wrote something called the Al Yahuda tablets, 200 tablets. And what happened is, it says, it teaches us that we weren't slaves like we were slaves to the Pharaoh. It teaches us, that we weren't slaves like we were slaves to the Pharaoh. It teaches us that we were simply free people in Babylon, living only in Al Yahuda, but also in a dozen other cities where Jews either lived or did their business. The Al Yahuda tablets dated to the 6th and the 5th century BC are a collection of about 200 clay tablets on the exiled Judeans living in Babylon. The tablets are named after the central settlement mentioned in the documents, Al Yahuda, which means Judah town. The new document provided us insight. What the insight is providing is that Nebuchadnezzar offered the Jews, while he went to Judea, land, income producing land, and gave them positions like congressman or whatever. So what the brother is talking about, these Jews got to show these curses. These curses already happened between the 7th century and the 5th century. One of the curses is about having your king. You show me your king in Africa. Show me your king in North America that fulfilled Deuteronomy 28:36. It has to be an Israelite king, and Israel didn't have a king since 722 BC. So it has to happen during around that time period. What you're saying don't make sense. Remember, Moses is coming out of Egypt, and he said, these are the curses, and these are whatever. And he's giving you options like, yo, if you do this, this will happen for you. You get a blessing. Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. He's giving you the option. You now have to follow through with that option. Hold on 1 second, before we get to the next person. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, guys.
Yeah, land your plane, brother. Land your plane.
Yeah, I'm ready, get ready to land it right now. All right. Deuteronomy 28, return to Egypt by ship sold as slaves, reflects Assyrian, Babylonian deportations, echoes of Judeans shipped to Egypt, Esarhaddon, Ashurnapal campaigns, Jeremiah 43. Arab 2, 673 and 779, Jeremiah 43, 7-9. What I wanted to read was proof, evidence of records of them actually being transported on ships in that time period going into Egypt. You know what? I'll get back to that. Because that's a very powerful source. It's a very powerful source. All right. Go ahead, guys. I'm good.
All right. Hold on.
Oh, here it goes right here. Herodotus and Elephantine Papyri attest to Judeans living in
Just hold on to it, Garfield. Hold on to it. Because I'm pretty sure that's going to pop up soon, too. So, God's King. Did you want to...
I thought that was on Cypher when Prince gave up his time.
No, it was. I'm pulling to.
By the way,
refresh
why
what
we
was
got
next
so
in
many
the queue.
people on stage at the same time?
Yeah.
Don't worry. Nobody's gonna unmute. Nobody's gonna say nothing. Cypher, you gotta go on mute, bro.
Yeah. Really quick, y'all was Cypher, right? You gotta listen to the moderation, bro. You gotta join the room for sure. Join the room. And leave out, come back in that pink ticket you leave. You have the rights to it. Real quick for y'all to continue, I appreciate everybody for coming to the Maccabee Hive to bless the space. This is a space we all can have a good conversation. We got to have a conversation. I really appreciate it. Y'all ping somebody. If you have a pink ticket, join the room. There's a lot of good speakers, a lot of good teachers come in this room, and they bless it every day. So y'all join the room. Y'all, so you got it, King. I appreciate it.
Can I read the source real quick, bro? Because I got it.
Nah, just hold on, bro. You're gonna be able to read it. God's King, are you there? If not, I'm gonna drop you down. Prince, I'm gonna drop you down, all right, bro?
Thank you, Prince.
God's King's not there. Cypher, you're next then, bro. Cypher, you're next. Introduce yourself, say what you believe in, and then you could be able to have the bill with Garfield, all right, bro?
Appreciate it.
All right.
So, I'm Cypher. Been on the app for about 4+ years, and definitely non-religious, spiritual, biblically based. I believe, and everything the good brother Prince was saying. I would just ask that he change his battery in his fire alarm. Garfield and I have been on stages a few times, and I've definitely had some back and forth. But on this subject matter, I've had supporting documents that I'd like to bring to the table. But before I do that, I'd like to ask Garfield for a 30-second response. What is the importance of Black people being or not being Israelites? And I have 30 seconds for his response, and then I would like to go into the bill, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, the importance is we're in search of an identity. We are people who have been cut off from who we are. So we're in search of an identity. So we claim to be Moors, we claim to be Nawabians, we claim to be Christians, we claim to be everything. There's no set importance. Hebrew Israelism, I'm curious because this might sound humorous, but I want to be chosen. So I would love to investigate and see if it's true. So I could definitely be an Israelite. So I'll genuinely say to you, in search of truth, that's how important it is. I studied the Nation of Islam, which I was a part of. 30 seconds. All right, bye. I hope that answered your question, bro. Y'all, what's up? I'm gonna get you later. I'm gonna get you later. Y'all, what's up?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So there is a huge importance in that identity, and I think that we should be afforded the audience to search that out because of what's happened to us. Garfield, I'm not sure if you're Black American, but there's our Caribbeans are also the tribes of Israel too. I do believe a lot of what the Israelites do say, although I do not approve of a lot of their approaches. However, like I said, I'm not religious. I'm a spiritual being, and I am biblically based. Okay. That being said, I'd like to pull up the first evidence that I put in the chat earlier, but I'd like to point you to the book called The Critical Review or Annals of Literature, published in 1784, 1783 to be exact, volume 57, on page 141, right? But before I go into this, I had extensive conversations with Google Gemini. So I would like to introduce that evidence and then introduce the source of that evidence of which I speak from. And this is necessarily not going to be using biblical scriptures to back it up. I believe Prince did a very good job at doing that. So I will lead with this information that is outside the biblical text, if that's okay. All right. So here's a summation. Should be under less than a minute or 2 minutes, rather.
Argument can be made to support a connection between Black Americans and Black Spanish Jews by synthesizing historical records, linguistic analysis, and cultural practices. The historical and geographical link. The argument begins with the forced expulsion of Jews from Spain in 1492. While many went to other parts of Europe and the Ottoman Empire, historical accounts and contemporary research suggest that a significant number of these Iberian Jews, who are often described as dark-skinned or black, migrated to West Africa. Black Spanish Jews. Historical documents describe a portion of the Jewish population in Spain and Portugal as black or swarthy. This physical description is used to argue that these individuals were the ancestors of some of the enslaved people. The transatlantic slave trade. It is argued that the persecution of these Jewish communities in the Iberian Peninsula was a precursor to the transatlantic slave trade. Many of these expelled Jews, or their descendants who had settled in West Africa, were then sold into slavery. The Kingdom of Judah. Maps from the 18th century show a region on the West African slave coast labeled as the Kingdom of Judah. This is presented as cartographical evidence that some slave traders recognized the Jewish identity of the people they were capturing and selling. Cultural and linguistic survivals. Some cultural and linguistic retentions among Black Americans are presented as evidence of a hidden Jewish heritage. Monotheism and rituals. The argument highlights the strong monotheistic beliefs found in many African American spiritual traditions, drawing a parallel to the monotheism of Judaism. Linguistic connections. Some researchers have pointed to possible linguistic links between certain African American dialects and ancient Hebrew, though this is a subject of ongoing debate. The argument's core. The core of the argument is that the transatlantic slave trade was not a random event, but a continuation of the persecution of a specific group of people with a Hebrew heritage. By examining historical documents that describe Black Spanish Jews, tracing their migration to West Africa, and analyzing cultural and linguistic survivals, a case can be made that a segment of the Black American population has a direct connection to these Black Spanish Jews.
And these are where the major ports of slaves were exported into the Americas. Where I'm at here in Cartagena, Colombia, this is the very first place that they came to.
What's that place?
So
say that again. I'm sorry.
I've
Say that
gone
again.
to the churches. I've seen where they held the auto de fes after church, where they used to burn our ancestors at the stake. This is where you get palenque. They started to go into Brazil and all through South Africa and the Caribbean. Now, I would submit to you too that there are also slave trade profiles that talked about the export of slaves. And the majority of them were under a certain age, which also could be mentioned rather in other books that were referencing, saying that the children 3 years to 10 years and up were the ones that were sold into slavery. Those were the people that were on the cargo ships. The average slave age height was like...
Try to land your plane soon, all right, brother?
Yes, sir. 20 years and under, the majority of them. So they were children. Also, these children that were under the age of 3 were kept in Europe for a period of time and also sold as slaves to Europeans and raised as Christians or Catholics. And if you also look up a man called Yahya ben Rabish, or Yahya the Negro, as he's also known as, who fought in the first Crusades with his son afterwards. He became the Lord of the Negroes that ran Castile, Seville, and Granada. And he became the Lord of the Negroes, which these villages still exist to this day, that date back to the 12th and 11th and 10th century. It is ample evidence that show that these people came from that place and went into Africa, and it would be very hard to base an argument on DNA, because DNA does not, give you any historical reference because of things like genetic bottlenecks, which things like the transatlantic slave trade and expulsions and mass migrations could disrupt the genetic lineage to any one place in time. I'll land right there. I have more to come, but I'll land right there.
All right, this is beautiful. I like the playbook. You're again using the Hebrew Israelite playbook, which has been refuted and debunked 100 million times. So now let me 2 things you talked about. That's easy. No. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I can barely hear you.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Just speak up, bro. That's all.
Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, here we go. Yahya the Negro. Let's look it up. I'm gonna go on Google. I'm gonna go on Jewish Encyclopedia right now and look up Yahya the Negro. And I'm gonna read it for you so you could stop using that information for the rest of your life. Don't ever use Yahya the Negro again. I'm gonna put this in the chat right now, the link right here. Jewish Encyclopedia, and I'm going to put it, where's the chat? Here's the chat, and I want the chat to read along with me because Santonio also likes to use this source and don't understand the culture or what it's actually talking about. All right, there it goes. And of course, my brother, good brother Yawasap did this already with us. Oh man, let me get this Yahya the Negro stuff out of here. All right. So you have David ibn Yahya Negro ben Adala. All right. No, actually, let me scroll up some more. All right. Right here debunks it completely. Like me, I'm Jamaican, and sometimes I'm connected to the Tweed because of my accent. I have a Tweed dialect connecting me to Ghana. So all of it is rooted in Africans. There's a book called Africanisms in America. We need to get that book that goes into that deeper. All right. Now, let me get into WIDA. Now, the issue with WIDA is this, right? My brother, can you come off mic? Because I want to ask you a question about WIDA real quickly, just so that we're on the same page. Can you get off mic real quick, brother? All right. How do the people pronounce WIDA in the French? How does the French pronounce WIDA?
I don't know, but there's different variations of that pronunciation. It could be called WIDA or WIDA.
All right. Would you agree with, all right, how would the English say the word? How did the English pronounce the word?
I really don't know.
All right, cool. All right. So I'm going to say this, and I'm glad this is on the recording because a lot of Hebrew Israelites love this wider conversation. And to refute it, it takes a lot of scholarship. All right. So I want you to be a little bit, I'm not going to be long-winded. I'm going to be very short-winded on this conversation with WIDA. All right. I promise. Now watch this. WIDA is what the British would call it, or the English. My brother who just spoke, do you speak English? Clearly. All right. Now watch this. Now that we established that you speak English, I want to pronounce the word the same way how the English would pronounce it. That would make sense. Am I correct?
Say that again.
Seeing that we both speak English, wouldn't it be wise for us to pronounce the word the way how English pronounce it?
I don't believe it would matter.
Okay. The reason why it matters is because the word is actually, the Yoruba word is from the GBE language, which is that part of Africa. They speak a certain, they have what's called a language family. They're from the Niger-Congo family, right? Hebrew is part of the Northwest Semitic language family, which is actually Afro-Asiatic. So they're from two different language families. And what happened is the first person to pronounce the word, it's called X-Weda. In the phonetic script, it's spelled X-W-E-D-A. So it's pronounced Hueda. The X is silent. In the Latin alphabet, it would be written as Hueda. Now, what happened is the first people to pronounce it were the Spanish. And by the way, this is from the book called Oida, The Social History of West African Slave Import, 1727 to 1892. In contemporary sources, the name Hueda may have been noted first by Spanish missionaries visiting the kingdom of Alada to the northeast in 1660. This is the first recording. I hope you hear me clearly. The first recording of that name is Jura, J-U-R-A-R-I-U-R-A. That's the first spelling of the name in history. More certainly, it enters the historical record as Judah when who? The French first established a trading factory there. So that's, if you look at it now, then now you look at the Spanish, then the French, then the Dutch call it FIDA, F-I-D-A. The Portuguese call it Ajuda, A-J-U-D-A. The English now says WIDA, W-H-I-D-A-H or W-H-I-D-A-H. The fun people themselves, they say Sueda, Hueda. So what happened is, brother, it's really a transliteration and a transmission issue. It really has nothing to do with the literal Judah. How do I know this? All right, watch this. How I know this is because in WIDA, they have an oral tradition. If you notice, if we talk about the Yoruba, the Ashanti, or the Igbo, today in 2025, you will hear an oral tradition connecting to some way to Israel or Arabia from all those three cultures, right? Which can be explained. But with the people in Judah or WIDA, those people have no oral tradition at all saying that they come from Israel. Not even a drip. Today, yesterday, the day before yesterday, whatever. What happened is you had Judo-Christian people visiting the area. And what they would do, my brother, is they would put the claim on them and say that they are Judah. If you look at how many slaves left there, that port city, and I want everybody to pay attention to this. Garfield ain't on no bullshit. The same book, Oida, almost 2 million people was sent from those port cities, from the Bight of Benin. 2 million. The Brazilians, English, the French, the Dutch, the Spanish, and American, all together almost 2 million. You know how many people from Oida was actually taken? Let me ask you, get off mic for a second, brother. Let me ask you, do you know how many people from Oida was taken? Who literally was Judah? How many people were taken who were ethnical Judeans or ethnical Oideans? Do you know?
Enlighten me.
Okay, so you don't know. It's okay to say you don't know.
I didn't say that.
So do you know? So if you know, tell me, brother.
It's over 1 million.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So were those people residents of the area? And I think a lot of people don't know this. Let me point to another source real quickly. It's called The Uncommon Market: Essays in the Economic History of the Atlantic Slave Trade and the Slave Trade in the Bight of Benin by Patrick Manning, 1640 to 1890. He goes in. I don't think people realize this. The wider community was the ultimate middleman for the slave trade. They weren't slaves. So before 1727, I wish I could show you this chart. It's in the book that I referred. You see from 1641, 12,000 people were taken, 9,000, 17,000, 32,000, 55,000. Now up to 1727, the wider people were independent. What happened is Dahomey Kingdom invaded Alada, then invaded Wida. Wida heard the drums, the war drums of those Africans, and ran to the Popo rivers or the Popo riversides. So they went to Popo. They were the middlemen. Dahomey was tired of paying the middleman Alada and then also paying a fee to Wida. So they just say, let me take it over. So since 1727, the residents of the Dahomey Kingdom cannot be enslaved. That's history that's written down in documents. 1727 is when Dahomey took over. From 1641 to 1727, Wida controlled themselves. If you look at the wider population, the Dahomey and Wida estimated population, you see 1 year it was 8,000. It couldn't be them going on the slave ships. 2,000, 6,000, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. The wider people are the middlemen. They weren't slaves. Judah didn't go on the slave ships. Now, let me prove that with Manning's work right now. Because he has a chapter that talks about the ethnicity of the people. So let me just put that. The ethnic origins of the slaves. Beyond the quantity of slaves exported and the point of export, a full assessment of the slave trade and its impact would require information on the ethnic origins of the slaves. Although evidence on this topic is scattered and quite impressionistic, a comparison of observation made on the African coast with records on slaves in the Americas can at least raise some of the major questions about ethnic origins of the slaves from the Bight of Benin. It was the Asia people, it was the Yoruba people, other groups such as the Nupe, the Hausa, the Voltaic peoples of northern Benin. In some cases, especially within the Asia peoples, more specific identification of ethnic origin is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the people that are come from Wida were not taken on the slave trade. They were the middlemen. They were the middlemen. So that makes your argument about Wida null and void. Plus, the word has nothing to do with Judah in the Bible. It has to do with a transliteration. If you look at the 1747 Emmanuel Boyne map, look at it right now, family. Google it. Take a look at it. And what you're going to see is, you're going to see Wida spelled with an I, W-H-I-D-A-H. And then you're going to see what Judah, J-U-D-A. So they're telling you how different cultures. I speak English. That's why I asked you. I'm not trying to win a debate. I'm just trying to teach you something that you're not familiar with. Judah is what the French said. The French said Judah. The English said Wida. I speak English. So if it's Judah, really Judah, it should be Judah in English. Wida is even the name of a boat that they call it because it came from that area. The Wida Galley. Look it up. It's one of the boats that they found. So I'm saying to you,
I can respond because you've been talking literally over 7
no, you talk for a long time, bro. You have a nerve to get off.
I was gonna tell him to wrap
no,
it up.
not yet, because he took a long time, brother. He took a long time. So I talked about. So I killed Wida. I killed Yaya the Negro, and I kill the whole argument about the Yoruba and the languages, the African Americans. I kill all those 3 arguments. I'm going to kill one more argument. One question before I respond to your thing about the people in Africa. How many people from Spain went into West Africa when they were expelled?
There's variable in numbers. The highest number I've heard is 836,000 families. Low numbers are a few thousand to maybe even tens of thousands.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, that is actually garbage, total garbage. You may, if I didn't know you, if I knew you, if you was Yawasap, I would have told you made that up.
Stay focused on the
no, listen, you just said I'm going to hold you to that because no source says 836,000 families went into Africa. That's a goddamn lie. It might have said 836,000 families fled Spain and some went to Portugal, but ain't no 836. There's not more than, you can't show more than 500 people going into Africa after the Spain expulsion or the Portuguese expulsion.
Stick to the point.
Hold on. No, you can't tell me how to answer. How you going to tell me how to answer? You see, we could throw out figures. You see,
get to the point. You're loquacious.
You see now we can't have a conversation with this guy. He wants me to get mad and throw him off. But this is what happened, family. As Israelites, we allow people to lie to us. Stop letting people lie to you. This brother just said 863,000 people left from Spain and went into Africa. That's a lie. That's a lie. Don't interrupt, bro. Don't interrupt. Hold. Y'all stop. What up? What up, y'all stop?
Document synthesizes several key points.
All right. Hey, brother. Cypher. Whites can't have it. White people. I think what we need to understand, and if I was shouting, I have
to mention only non-biblical.
Must be because you're not an African American. If I'm saying that nobody's an Israelite, know the history of going into Africa and ending up in.
Now, as lawyers did argue that
of Canaan is also related to the Canaanite Cush.
They justified themselves doing it, right?
Now, but I am looking for an explanation.
But nevertheless,
why would you have your opportunity now? 140.
Make the statement one more time for those who came into the room.
As far as the patriarchs, that's not a real and their history. They have a claim that they could say they
but everybody, I need y'all to stay on mute. If you can't stay on mute, I would have to, because me and Garfield, and it was supposed to be one king on stage at the time. He's right. But I want to show some consideration, keep you on stage. But if brothers come off the mic, I would have to move you down due to what me and Garfield spoke about. So,
King, I didn't know Q about that part, but I do want to say, because it seemed like Yahweh is busy and you might be disposed. I want to hear a clean, fair bill. That's it. So that's the only thing I was telling. So
why he got to get off mic, bro? Why he got to get off mic? You want to be the main man syndrome, yo? This main man syndrome is crazy.
That's all I was telling.
Do me a favor, Q. Just to have a clean conversation. There's nobody in the egg Q. There is nobody in the Q. There's nobody. Listen to me. There's nobody in the Israelite community that can deal with me. So I'm not worried about anybody. All I'm saying is move everybody down. Oh, we had it, bro. Nah, move everybody down, bro. Move everybody down. Move everybody down. Yo, this dude D Dollar, he got a main guy syndrome. He has to be the main guy. So I accept the academic consensus that Abraham, Isaac, and 1,000 people, and he had people living in Israel in Operation Ezra and Nehemiah. They followed the laws. They followed Jesus existed or not, which I do. So I have no Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem, Ham, and Japheth is basically a geographical location as tradition. I don't know if he from, that's what it is. I can't do nothing about that. I mean, after basically the same as the Greek world. So authors, so there's a tradition in the New Testament that says Jesus is an Israelite. Israelites did were they created a story about Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham story of the Bible is that they were united. They can't hear me when your mic
is real proper.
Say that again.
Would you see that southern kingdom of Judea part of Israel?
Let Mavu just make his last statement, and then
Mike, we're done. You don't have to get off mic anymore. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Now, Mavu.
Garfield, you was getting beat up when I was on the phone.
Nah, don't play.
Hey, y'all stop.
Well, everybody mute up. Let me respond to Mavu.
Go ahead.
I notice y'all don't get off mic when Mavu is talking. Mavu, mute up your mic. We're done. You don't have to get off mic anymore. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Now, Mavu, what you did was ask the same question 8 different times.
Hey, Garfield, hold on, Garfield.
No,
hold on.
don't do that.
1 second.
Don't do
one
that,
second,
bro.
King. Look, just 1 second, King. I'm not going to ask no questions. Hold on, just moderation. Y'all, what's up? The good brother, Audra, he was in line, and then D Dollar, and then we had Smoke.
Okay. No problem.
King. Bless you.
No problem.
Hey, let me say this. King Herod was an Edomite, for the record, and he was a national leader over Israel as far as Judah. He was in control of Roman Judea. So he was a Roman Judean citizen, but he was an Edomite. All right. Now let me continue to say this. Tim, I don't know why you have your mic not muted, bro, while I'm talking, because they can't hear me with people on their mics.
Everybody's muted, bro.
No, he's not. He's not muted.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stage right now. Maybe you gotta refresh your page, bro.
I just muted him. All right.
Okay.
All right. So now let's take a look at what Mavu is asking. Now, I must confess that a lot of the traditions about David that I just spewed out was based off of biblical tradition. Now, that's biblical tradition. I was giving a respect to the text by talking about David, but the truth of the matter is we don't know. He's looked on as a chieftain king, not a huge king like how we have in the Bible. All right. Same with other people. Omri was a king of Israel, and we have Azariah and Ahaz in Judah. So in Judah, we could find kings. In Israel, we could find kings up until the Assyrians finished kicking them off. Now, at that point, there's no more Israel. So when somebody says Israel don't exist anymore, that you could make that claim from 722, because from then on, even the old area was called Judah. In the Maccabees time period, in the 1st century, it's called Judah. And in some instances, the cultures that's over them, the empires, are calling it Judah. So in that sense, they're calling it Judah. But in the Bible, they're saying Judah and Israel, and they're Israelites. So I'm giving a respect to the tradition. That's how I would come to the conclusion that Jesus is an Israelite. I don't necessarily can prove it. I don't necessarily know if he directly comes from David or whatever. I can't prove that 100%, but that's based off of the tradition of the Israelites, and it's based off of the tradition of what we know in history. All right. So no, Mavu, I am done. Mavu, we done, bro. We done. They just told you that. Yawasab just told you that. No, we don't need to make a last point. We done, bro. No, we done, bro. We don't. No. No.
So
yo, Khalil. Yo, what's up? What's popping, bro?
Yeah.
Yo, he's done. Get him out of here, bro. It's been over an hour.
Like I always say, man, gotta be.
No.
What am I gonna say?
No, he's out of here, man. He's out of here.
Nah, don't move him down, though.
He's out of here. Bro. Who's next? Who's the next victim?
Hold on. Let me moderate. All right. I was gonna tell Mavu, you could come back.
Let your brother deal with it, King. Let your brother deal with it.
Garfield, this is the thing, Garfield. It would have been done already like 3 minutes ago, bro. He's only.
He don't need to speak.
Let me pull it up real quick. So he was asking for the history, so I just want to know, and I'm pretty sure he should be familiar with James Adair, the British trader and historian who lived among Native American tribes in America in the South for 40 years. In 1775, we see accounts where he records not only do these people share the same heritage, but direct connection with the language tradition of it, right? Unless Garfield is going to say that it's a marginy on so-called natives, and if there weren't any of our ancestors or people share ancestry with so-called natives here, i.e. Black people, then that would be some history for them to consider. Secondly, Garfield made a point to tell everybody about the genetic mutation when it comes to sickle cell. Well, the only issue with that, Garfield, I hope that you're aware that all people, all different creeds, races, people can carry the sickle cell trait. It's just widely more popular in so-called African Americans. Therefore, you can't use that as a benchmark to say, well, you Negroes cannot be the ancient Israelites or descended from them, because according to science, all people carry it. You have people in Asia, a population in Asia that was also considered that mutation was considerably high versus say like a Caucasian. So I wouldn't use that as a benchmark to say that no, you niggas cannot be actually connected to ancient Israelites by blood because you have sickle cell. That's years later, my God. That wouldn't even be a strong argument, I believe, Garfield. I think you can make a greater point. Again, real quick, because Garfield also made a point to say that he doesn't believe that, our people was our Israelites were ever in Egypt, I believe. I think he should go do some research with the Edomite Titus Kennedy, which is an archaeologist. Titus Kennedy, Garfield, I think you would agree, being that he, is an actual archaeologist, he makes a great argument about the Exodus that you should check out, Garfield. Therefore, you won't make that mistake, because I don't think you would deem yourself an archaeologist, nor would I. So we got to see what the archaeologists actually say. So that's just tidbit right there. I'm going to land real quick. It was something else that Gary Garfield asked for. Oh, got you, right. Me and Garfield touched on this briefly when it comes to the E1B1A, the oldest sample being found at a Levant. I think it's quite interesting, Garfield. You lean heavily a lot on science. You know what I'm saying? Not only the oldest, but the smallest percentage of collection is found there. But that makes sense if people migrated from that location. That actually strengthens our argument that that's the origin point. You have people that also teach that the smallest sample group would be connected with the origin of the people, or the oldest. So those things correlate. So now you have the haplogroup, you have a historian. Also, last point, I would love to see, and it's just for one, when we look into the accounts, when we see like actual people coming over, is recorded, right? So you have the Hartford, Connecticut Negro, African-American boy, right, in 1897, who wrote Hebrew. Not only did he write Hebrew, he impressed even the top rabbis of that area, because he had over a certain amount of words that were actually in the Paleo. So he wrote an older form of Hebrew than even what they were writing. And this is what he's quoted and confirmed to have said, that he come from a tribe of 20,000 Black Hebrews in Africa whose fathers were rabbis. This is not something I made up. This is actually in the history. So I'm just hoping, you know what I'm saying, try to meet your criteria of what you asked for, Garfield. But again, you caveat it with convince me. Now, you can slap all that off the table, or you respond to the information. Appreciate it.
Shout out to D Money, sounding all humble and scared at the same time. All right, so these 5 things: James Adair, the Exodus with Titus Kennedy, the sickle cell trait, E1B1A, Samuel. You're talking about Samuel Walkowski, right? 1897. That's what you're talking about. The guy that could write Hebrew when he was a mute and all that stuff. 20,000 people from Macomb. He came from Egypt or he came from Ethiopia, depending on which day of the week you're asking the story. All right. Now, have you ever, I'm going to ask you an honest question because you try your best to be honest. And let me ask you this. Samuel Walkowski saying he comes from 20,000 Hebrews. How does he come in here from Ethiopia or Egypt and not on a slave ship? How does he become how does he make African American Israelites? That's kind of weird.
I got you.
But hold on. Let me respond to
I thought
everything.
you was asking me a
My
question.
bad.
Go ahead.
Hey, y'all, what's up? Can you
I don't
mute
know
up?
who sounds
Can you
scared.
mute up, y'all,
Go
what's
ahead.
up? Because they can't hear me if anybody is off mic.
Say that again. Say that again, bro.
Can you mute up because they can't hear me well when you
He's muted.
I am muted up.
Yeah, everybody's muted, Garfield.
Everybody's muted, bro.
So what the hell am I seeing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think I think your thing is bugging, bro. Everybody's muted.
All right. In all fairness, right? I'm not gonna go hard on D Money because you're really just wasting time by coming on here. Because you're not that guy. All right. But let me just say this. The Exodus saying Titus Kennedy is good work is not evidence. That's not evidence. The evidence is the brother made a claim that they were Israelites in that region. There is no evidence of any Egyptian writing down that Israelites were in there. The only time they mention Israel in the Murder Patah Stele is when they talk about the people in the Levant, which is in Canaan, and that those people were not Israelites as far as the tradition because they're in there and there's no conquering. So they actually don't even agree with the story of the Bible. But that's another story for another time. Maybe when you talk here next time, you'll explain why you bring up Titus Kennedy and why Titus Kennedy is the consensus of scholarship. Let's look at James Adair for a second. James Adair, right? And just off the top of my head, because I debated my big bro on this right here, James Adair. All right. Let's take a look at James Adair real quickly. Genetically, the Native Americans have come up as Q and C, like my brother Yawasap. They don't trace back to anywhere in the Levant as far as genetics. The mtDNA of the woman is normally ABCDX2A, all of East Asian or Siberian origin. All right. The linguistics, the language families, the native languages belong to over 150 families. No relation to Hebrew. No Hebrew loanword, despite Adair's claims. Comparative linguistics finds no genuine Hebrew cognates in native vocabularies. Now, with James Adair, we got to be careful because James Adair admits in his own writing that he never knew Hebrew. So what was he comparing it to? He didn't know the culture either. So how could he compare the culture if he didn't know the culture? A lot of African Americans who claim to be Hebrew Israelites and follow that stupid 12-tribe chart are been following this James Adair. He's definitely not somebody we should use. Independent grammatical systems. Native languages have complex polysyntactic grammar, unlike Semitic languages. VSO versus verb subject object versus subject verb object. Linguistic typology. You wouldn't understand all of that. All right. Missionary misunderstanding. Many of Adair's Hebrew-like words were mistranscriptions or forced comparisons by missionaries. Let me see if there's anything else. With this guy here. Yeah. And by the way, too, not to sound vulgar, but a lot of the Native American cultures hold the menstrual of a woman to be holy. Like there's powers with the woman menstrual time period. So she's moved away and they live in a hut while they're on their menses. So that is respected with Native American culture and in some European cultures too. Women back in the days, they used to think that a woman could cause thunder. They could let rain fall. They could do a lot of things. As a matter of fact, the Cherokees' origin story, or the Mayan, have something to do with the woman menstrual power. So that has how the world was created. So not to sound nasty or crazy, we all adults here. One more thing. All right, so we deal with James Adair. Let's deal with the sickle cell trait. I think you misunderstood with the sickle cell trait. I was talking about the Duffy null genotype. Yes, anybody can have sickle cell trait. I agree with you. But the sickle cell trait is a marker, as in the Senegal, the Benin, or the Cameroon. So if they have that, if they have it in Africa and it comes over here during the transatlantic slave trade, that is evidence of the same people traveling. But what's more important is the Duffy null genotype. 70% of African Americans have it, and white people can't have it. They can't have it. They can't have that mutation because they can't, not mutation, I'm sorry. They can't have it because that variant that we have with the Duffy null genotype is only unique to Africans and African Americans and Afro-Jamaicans and Afro-Brazilians. All the people that were on the slave trade are descendants of the slave trade. So that's how you trace it. E1B1A, I think you need to go back. Do me a favor. Go on AI right now because I want you to come back and tell us the truth. The E1B1A sample actually was E1B1B, the oldest one. If you're talking about the Natufian culture, it's actually E1B1B. All right. Samuel Wachowski did not come over on a slave trade. He was considered locked up in Portland as a con man because he was pretending to be what he was not. He would go around the country and borrow money pretending to be this Hebrew expert. He says he comes from Macomb, Egypt. Macomb, Egypt don't exist. He didn't come over as a slave or anything. And also, in some instances, he says he come from Ethiopia, and some he says come from Egypt. He came over straight from those areas supposedly, and he could read and write and whatever. But it ended up that he was a con man, and he got arrested and everything. If you want the source for that, I got the newspaper clippings from Portland. But I answered all your questions. If you want me to go deeper into James Adair, because James Adair is a pretty cool guy to study. He's a very cool guy. He taught me a lot. But all right, family. But there up on the gully side. All right. So let me say this as far as the Sabbath 7-day week. The Hebrew Israelites, I want to say that stop being scared of Garfield. My brother in the chat, 12 tribes. You won't set up a debate because you can't prove no Jewish community existing in West and Central Africa before 1492. That is the debate I want to have with you. If you want to debate the Lembas did not come to the Americas. Hey, Mika, you ever notice something they always say? This is a claim that they always make, right? They always say, we the only people that fit the curses. They never say we fit the blessings. We fit the curses. With my brother Law, because I got something for brother Law right now too. Brother Law going to be very impressed with this. I don't know if people realize that the trans-Saharan slave trade was 10 times worse than the transatlantic slave trade. And the reason why we need to point this out, because we keep forgetting that these people were taken on ships. Taken on ships. Igbo are dated 900 to 1000 AD. Didn't you hear me read the source for the Igbos? Two sources, Dapper and the other one where it talks about the Igbos and that they're not connected to the Moses tradition. So when people have circumcision in Africa, 12 tribes, circumcision's been in Africa over 6,000 years. So how could you guys, they don't do the situations that you do. And if they left from the Assyrian exile, show me a Torah that existed with laws, statutes, and commandments. It didn't exist at the time of the Assyrian exile, so they couldn't have brought it over here. Stop. Oh man, I'm not even gonna make me upset. I'm gonna get out of here at 1 o'clock. 15 more minutes. You got the chance to come debate me right now. Jump on the panel. You get 2 minutes to talk. I get 2 minutes to talk. That's it. So what I'm gonna do is, let's get this right here. I'm gonna put you in timeout, and I'm gonna put the link in the chat. All this yapping you're doing in the chat, show and prove how you're big and bad. All right, watch this. Igbo are specifically 8 days, but did they circumcise like the Israelites? No, my brother. And they were more concerned with the foreskin and the after stuff instead of that. Let's look at if Garfield is correct. So Garfield likes to source up or shut up, right? What's up, Pops?
Can I use your AirPods?
Please.
Thank you.
All right. Igbo. Let's take a look at what you're talking about, because we got to make sure that people are making sense. Let's go to the article that I've used several times. The Igbo Cybershine, my Igbo brother who gave this to me. Let me show it on the screen so that we're on the same page. All right. Let's look at the article on the screen. A re-emerging scam, a review of the Jews. Let's take a look. Close and accept. Let's go to part 2. Is there a part 2? All right, let's go to part 2. Let's go. You talk about circumcision, right? Let's look at what the Igbo professionals say. And you're not going to change your mind even after I show this. So this is not even for you, because you can't say you're wrong. Your ego doesn't allow you to be wrong. So let's look at circumcision. Probably the argument that is used the most as proof of a Jewish origin. Matter of fact, let me make this bigger so everybody could read this. And let me put it in the chat so people could get it for themselves. The article is in the chat. Here you go. All right. Probably the argument that is used the most as proof of a Jewish origin of Igbo people is the fact that they circumcise their infant males. So people who generally mention that Igbo people came from Israel talk about circumcision on the 8th day, which is universal among the Igbos. Unfortunately, what they forgot to mention is the fact that circumcision on the 8th day is not universal in Igbo land. Uh-oh. Are you serious? I thought you just said the 8th day they did it universally in the chat. There are places like Afikpo where it could be done as late as the teenage years. Is that Jewish? But when it is done in Igbo land, the delay was typically 1 to 8 days after birth. Typically, not every single situation. The delay of both the circumcision and the naming of the child in Igbo culture was done mainly because of the high infant mortality rate in the days before colonialism. And that practice was shared amongst many African groups. There is no covenant whatsoever mentioned with the rite is done. And the foreskin, pardon me, ladies in the audience, the foreskin is not even preserved, as it is often is in the Jewish rite. Furthermore, the burial of the umbilical cord actually has far more significance than circumcision. You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? The burial of the umbilical cord, the ili alo, and actually does represent a covenant between the child and Allah, the earth deity. Not Jewish. Allah, you have a deity, earth deity named Allah in the Bible, as well as the ancestors. Furthermore, they also intentionally leave out that both male and female circumcision was a part of the traditional society until recently, which is certainly not part of the Levitical code. So all you females in the audience, if you was in the Igbo, whoa, whoa, not a primary source. Hold on a second. We don't need a primary source. We have the scholars from the University of Calabar, who is a native Igbo guy that wrote this article, The Infancy Rights. Let me put the PDF in the audience so you could see that. But they always leave out. They always leave out. Not the foreskin, my brother. The umbilical cord. You're not even listening. Nah, I don't want you in the audience. I want you on stage. It just shows you your ignorance and your arrogance. I just read the source. I just read it. What more do you want? There's no covenant whatsoever mentioned when the rite is done, and the foreskin is not even preserved. The foreskin. Oh man. Unfortunately, female circumcision is one aspect of the tradition that's still being practiced to this day, with figures estimating that nearly half of women reportedly still undergoing it. Not Garfield. Ah, God. Last but not least, the two methods of circumcision are extremely different, especially since in the Orthodox Jewish circumcision tradition, the Mohel performed what is known as a mitzvah bepa, or oral suction, where they take this is not done anywhere. The rabbi explains this practice in the video. All right. So we done with the Igbo. We done with the Igbo. What else? What else? Anybody else? Any other questions? Garfield don't know nothing about no damn limit. I was a major fan of Master P. I bought his first album. Make him say, nah, 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 nah. Make him say, He said the new crack game is the hip hop game. He said that in that way you call it. Okay, I want to say something about 7-day week. In my studies, which is my studies, I found that the 7-day week centralizes around Mesopotamia, Babylon, and the Assyrian culture. And they did have the 7th day after the lunar moon that they would do called restriction. So the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th, which would be like a 7-day Sabbath. And why 7? because they only had 5 planets that they were aware of, plus the sun and the moon. That's how they got 7, just for the record. They didn't take the Egyptian records, which had 10-day weeks. So we know more of a Mesopotamia thingy. All right. So now, so now you admit it, right? You said Igbo don't preserve foreskin. Okay, that's not biblical. All right. So you actually admit something. Did they preserve the umbilical cord in Israel? No. People want to be Israelites so bad, yo. That shit is crazy, yo. That shit is cray-cray. Cray-cray. All right. Any other topic anybody want to touch on? Is Wallace Farad Muhammad your God, Garfield? No, Wallace Farad Muhammad is not my God. And why is it when you come to my room, my brother, it has to be about you. You have to have main guy. You have main guy syndrome. You have to be the guy. We're talking about No Limit versus Cash Money, Hebrew Israelites, Gator Garfield, NBA gambling, the Sabbath and 7-day week. You want to talk about Wallace Farad Muhammad. Main guy syndrome. I didn't watch it, but I heard No Limit took it. I heard they took it. All right, we got how many more minutes? 5 more minutes and I'm out of here. 5 more minutes and I'm out of here. Any other topic y'all want to touch on before I get out of here? Make him say, nah. Make him say, nah. Make him say, nah. Make him say, nah. I'm here deleting mad photos out of my phone, man. I'm sick of this phone. Any more questions? We know you ain't watch. You a Jamaican. Yeah, all right. Play that clip of Captain. Which one? Which one of the clips? All right, man. 12:56. I'm out of here, man. Peace and love to y'all, man. I'm out. I'm Garfield, and I approve this message. Peace.